Story 1. My wife shut me out of our pregnancy, because she thinks it's not special to me as this isn't my first child, but now that I have just yelled at her, do I have any way back? I have been with my wife for 4 years. I have a 5-year-old from a previous relationship. My 5-year-old, Ella, is from my first long-term relationship during college. We split shortly after her birth, as my then partner admitted to being unfaithful and not being ready to start a family. My daughter loves my wife. They are inseparable. My ex does not have much to do with my daughter or myself except for causing occasional drama. She did not want any custody or visitation time, so my wife is her mother for all intents and purposes. My wife is almost 8 months pregnant, but she has shut me out of the entire pregnancy and refuses to admit anything is wrong. I feel completely ignored and hurt. When we first learned she was pregnant, she told me while I was making breakfast. Of course, I was elated. However, since it was an unplanned pregnancy, I asked how she was feeling at first. She began smiling and crying about how excited she was. I picked her up, gave her a million kisses, and told her I was so excited to have a baby too, and what a wonderful mother she would be. All good, right? She went all out to announce to everyone else with balloons, boxes, t-shirts, and best big sister mugs. I assumed the casual announcement with me was because she wanted my feelings on growing our family before celebrating. However, when her sister asked about how I liked my box, my wife quickly said, "He didn't get one, this isn't his first rodeo." It was like pulling teeth to get her to let me go to the ultrasound appointments. She didn't want me to miss work, didn't want to interrupt Ella's routine, excuse after excuse. When it came to listening to the heartbeat, my wife instantly started crying happy tears. The tech was telling her how strong the heartbeat was, how precious our little one was, etc. I was feeling a bit emotional and cleared my throat to prevent crying. The tech said, "Aw Dad, isn't that sound beautiful?" My wife immediately said, "This isn't his first child, it's not that special for him." I immediately said, "This is one of the most important moments of my life. I can't think of anything more special." The atmosphere was clearly awkward after. Another thing that bothered me, I heard Ella and my wife's mom laughing in the living area. I was in the kitchen making dinner. When I walked in and asked what the fuss was about, Ella was touching my wife's stomach and was laughing with excitement that the baby was moving and it would be so cute. My wife let my daughter and her mom feel the baby move before me. I was hurt but simply said how happy I was. Later that night, my wife was poking her belly and laughing. I asked her to feel as well and she said, "You felt Ella move as a baby. What can be better than that? She was the cutest baby ever." She has felt pretty poorly throughout her pregnancy but refuses to let me help her. If I bring her a snack and drink, she offers it to our daughter. If I try and rub her feet or legs, she asks me to play with our daughter so she doesn't feel like she is being replaced or ignored. I simply do not ignore my daughter. We have bonding time. I'm an active parent, but I want to love my wife. She can hardly eat, but when I asked her what I could prepare for her, it's whatever Ella wants. We went to the zoo with Ella, and my wife started feeling bad. She had cramps and was considering going to the hospital, with severe nausea and dizziness. I carried her to a bench nearby, and she began to cry, saying she couldn't even stand up. I told her to let me call an ambulance or I'll carry her to the car and drive her. She said she didn't want to ruin Ella's trip, and we didn't even make it to the aviary, Ella's favorite part. I said I wasn't leaving when she asked me to continue to go through the zoo with Ella. We sat for a while until her dad showed up. She didn't even tell me he was coming, and he took her to the doctor. I was shocked and followed them with Ella. When we arrived, Ella was upset about missing the aviary and pouting. At that point, the health of my wife and unborn child were my concern. I really didn't care that Ella was upset. My wife was irate that I made Ella miss out. Another example, we were watching Ella play a local kid's sport. I asked her, "Do you think our kid will be athletic? Artistic? Enjoy science or math?" She said, "This is Ella's moment. We shouldn't make it about someone who isn't even here." Ella was on the field, we were sitting in the stands. We had both waved to her, held up a sign for her, everything. I just wanted to talk about our baby. When her bump was really showing, she would always show it off to anyone who wanted to look. Her family, friends, siblings, etc. "Do you want to see my bump? I'm huge, so excited, I can't believe it's only X more weeks." They all touch her bump, talk to it, etc. Her parents come and read or tell back in the day stories. They go to the beach? 1,000 bump pictures are posted on her friends' social media accounts, so ready to be an honorary auntie. Her sister, wife puts the B in bump and beautiful. If we go out together? She wears the loosest clothes so I don't see it. I'll even see her pull her shirt down when she sees me come into the room. She sat on me the other day after being playful in bed. Her bump was right in my face. I ran my hands up it and said, "You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You already are a great mom to Ella. I can't wait to see you as our family grows." This was one of the first times I was really able to feel her bump, so I rested my hand there and said, "I love you so much already. I'm so excited to meet you. I hope you have your mom's eyes." She moved off of me and said, "I know your ex had a bigger bump than me. I bet it was fun seeing Ella move all the time. You don't have to act like you care. I know you've done this before." I said, "I don't think about it that way." Ella is special, but this is a completely new and different special because it was with you, and our baby is someone completely new and special. She began to leave the room, and I could see her shoulders shaking from crying. I am 100% positive she is not cheating, nor has she ever. I just cannot wrap my head around why she doesn't want me to be happy about this. The rest of the time is completely normal as long as I don't mention the baby. She is affectionate, initiates intimacy, brags about what a good husband I am and how great I've made this pregnancy. We plan for our future, have date nights, everything else. Unfortunately, we had a fight where I snapped. I had a break between clients at work, so I went to a local baby store and got a lot of things off of her list and Pinterest board. I came home and surprised her with flowers, a prenatal massage certificate, and her favorite food, as well as the baby items. She seemed very grateful, but when I came home, the items were no longer there. She said she returned it to buy Ella stuff, as she was going to feel left out. I lost it. I cried for the first time in our marriage and yelled that having a child with her was the worst mistake I've ever made, that at least my deadbeat ex gave me the chance to know my future child. That I didn't care about the baby because she wouldn't even let me bond with it. I do care, have since she told me. That I hope she was as miserable as she made me, and that she better be prepared for a custody dispute. She is a stay-at-home mom for Ella. She simply said, I know you don't care about the baby, but I'll die before you take my baby from me. What? I have begged her to let me interact with our baby. I asked her if her therapist had any insight on why she was being like this. She said no, that she isn't doing anything. I told her what I said above, and she said I had those experiences already, so it shouldn't matter. I asked her if the baby was mine. I know it is, I was just being mean. She threw her phone at me and said yes, go through it. I'll do a paternity test, whatever you need. I just called her parents and asked them to go to our house as we were having a disagreement and went to a hotel. I do not want to stress her or our unborn child, and I really want to repair this, but I truly don't know how. I'm staying at an Airbnb for now until we can figure this out, but I truly don't know what to do. I miss her like crazy, and I can't even begin to understand why she wants to behave this way. I have apologized for what I said, but I can't take back what I said, and I worry about when our baby is born if she will even want to be a family with me or let me have anything to do with our baby. I spoke with a mutual friend who says she is very distraught and says she can't be a single mom, loves me, but her actions prove the opposite time and time again even when I beg for change. What do I do, guys? Did I go too far when I yelled? Update. It's been about a month since I posted. After I posted and stewed for a little while, and had a couple of drinks, I called my father-in-law. He and my wife are very close, and I respect his opinion. He has been married for a very long time, seems to have a happy marriage, and has good relationships all around with his family. I didn't specify what issues we were having, but he was over at my house while I was staying in an Airbnb, so it was no secret we were having problems. He has more of a traditional marriage, and at some point asked what I had to lose by putting pressure on her to talk. I said I feared I would push her away more, and he pretty much told me that I was living in a separate house from my pregnant wife, freaking out about a potential divorce. What did I have to lose? He advised me to be a man and come back to my house and lay it on the line. I told him I'd be coming over the next day. They asked if they could take Ella to buy some sparklers for the upcoming holiday and spend the night at their house. I agreed, and when I went to my house the next day, I came in with flowers and stuff to make dinner. My wife asked what I was doing there, to which I replied I lived there and would like to sit down and talk. I gave a long apology for my actions and words. When I finished, I said it was her turn to tell me what was going on. She tried to claim nothing, that everything was okay. After a while, I said my heart is broken, that we have been through some tough things together, fought for each other, and now you sit here and lie to my face. We both sat there, and she cried for about 30 minutes until eventually she said she felt like our relationship would end if she was honest. I said I would hear her out, no matter what. She admitted it was hard that this would be her first kid and not mine. She didn't think it would bother her, and it didn't until she was pregnant. She laid in bed at night thinking if my ex would have wanted to raise Ella, we would still be a family together and she wouldn't matter. She expressed that seeing me emotional about our baby, wanting to touch her bump, or treat her made her think of me and my ex and how I had already done all of the things she was excited to do with me. Near the beginning of her pregnancy, she had told a close friend that she couldn't wait to have a baby with her soulmate, and her friend replied that she didn't think soulmates had other children or baby mamas, that it was two people meant only for each other. She was very upset and asked if I thought we were soulmates like she did. She described herself and our unborn child as my sloppy seconds family, that no one grew up dreaming of having kids by multiple different people. That she was just the substitute when the family I wanted didn't work out. She also shared she had found some old images of my ex on social media and could not stop comparing her pregnant body. She feared the baby wouldn't be an equal to Ella in my eyes. It worried her when I would ask what she thought the baby would be like. What if the baby was disabled, didn't like to do the things we enjoyed as a family, or the baby and Ella didn't like each other? She said at one point she found herself wishing I had never had Ella, so she wouldn't have to worry as much, and that is when she knew she had to really put in the extra effort to maintain a relationship with Ella. She feared that between work and Ella, I wouldn't have time and wouldn't bond with the baby like in the articles she read online where fathers didn't bond with their children until they were able to do things with the family. When I did try and bond with the baby, she worried the baby wouldn't live up to Ella. I have never been shy about saying how much being a father means to me and how raising Ella has been the highlight of my life, along with marrying my wife, and now having our child together. She said it was initially what made her confident in marrying me and excited to have a big family with me, but now constantly wondered if her pregnancy and this baby would be a highlight or a burden for me because the stress is the same but the newness wasn't. And then what if a newborn and then toddler wouldn't be as interesting to me as Ella, who is capable of doing activities? She showed me a million articles of different men explaining they didn't bond with their children until 4+ years old. She also showed me the videos where people say things they did with their first kid, and then get more relaxed as they have more children. She said it freaked her out because it was clear people stopped caring the more children they had. She said that there were times she felt she was ruining our family and coming between me and Ella. For example, at the zoo, she said she cried on the way to the hospital. She was afraid Ella would hate her and resent the baby for cutting our zoo time short, and that I would be upset that I was spending my time off work at the hospital instead of doing the activities we planned with Ella. While I work, Ella and my wife spend a lot of time out of the house, library, local parks, etc. One of their favorite activities is biking together, and we bike together on weekends as well. We have lots of local trails, but due to her pregnancy, she has not been able to. We've been doing more indoor activities. My wife said that when I'm at work, Ella kept saying she hated her because she didn't get to go on her new bike as often anymore. I said I would discuss it with her because that is unacceptable. My wife asked me not to since there would be so many changes soon for Ella, and it hurt her because she missed biking together as well. A couple of months ago, my wife asked me and Ella if we wanted to read stories together. Ella chose the first story I read, and my wife chose the second, her favorite childhood story, for me to read to the baby, and Ella, since it helps promote brain activity and help with bonding. After that, I read another book of Ella's choosing. While I was at work the next day, Ella ripped the pages out of the book my wife chose. She said she was going to tell me, but her friend, same friend who says we aren't soulmates, said I would think she was making it up and that it seemed to her she was trying to come between me and Ella. I asked her why she didn't tell me any of this, and she explained that she didn't feel comfortable telling me because her thoughts didn't even make sense to her. She wanted me to spend time with Ella so she didn't feel left out or jealous, and when I did she felt upset I wasn't spending more time with her. She loves Ella but wishes we had our first kid together. She wants me around but also feels upset and guilty when I give her and our unborn baby attention. She said she feared that I would think she was trying to come between me and Ella when she wasn't. By the time I realized something was truly wrong and started to ask what was wrong, if she needed therapy, etc., she said she realized she was acting poorly, but didn't want to admit to herself that she missed out on a lot with me and doubled down as it was hard to face that she made her fears a reality by pushing me away and not letting me care, and that she couldn't start over, that her first pregnancy was a somewhat bad experience because of her own actions. At this point, I realized how terrible I had been. I apologized for making her feel like she couldn't come to me about anything. She said when she researched her feelings, she found a bunch of forums where people were calling the poster evil for their feelings about their stepchild, and feared I would feel the same. She said if I had told her I felt about Ella the way she felt about Ella, it would make her angry and upset, so she couldn't see how I wouldn't be. We both cried for a long time. I tried to reassure her. I told her how much I loved her, how excited I was, that she was the family of my choosing and my soulmate, that the universe knew that Ella and I needed her, which is why circumstances allowed us to be a family. She apologized for the way she treated me, and said she wanted to make it right. She said she had wanted to apologize when I was beginning to have my meltdown, but was surprised when I yelled, and realized she might have messed up beyond repair to get that reaction from me. We continued to cry for a long, long time, and she asked if I wanted to feel the baby. Of course, I said yes, and we cried even more. It turned out to be a great evening. I made us dinner, and we laughed about how I was so stressed I went online for advice. She wanted to read the post and cried again when she did. I reassured her we could move past this, and she said she felt less horrible as she read some of the comments from women in her shoes. It was a bit awkward the first week, after so many months of tension. I knew things were turning around when she woke me up by whispering baby wants blueberry pancakes that Saturday. I don't think I've ever prepared pancakes so fast. I couldn't keep the smile off my face. We ended up going to a pool party a few days later, and she let me choose her swimsuit, a big deal for someone who only wore baggy clothes around me. We took family pictures, and the universe is clearly on my side because on the way home, she asked me to feel her belly and our baby was hiccuping, something I had never felt before and it was a first we could share together. She has even let me help her when she is sick without making an excuse about Ella. I've learned that when she comes and puts her back to me and lifts her arm, that is my cue to lift her belly up. I now spend a lot of time rubbing and talking to her belly, and rubbing her feet, legs, back, shoulders, hips, she is sore everywhere at this point. The first 500 times it made me cry. It has been such a relief to be involved. I never thought being tasked with acquiring the most random food items at 2 a.m. would be a great time for me, but it is. It still sucks that I missed out on a lot. I think it sucks for her too. She gets emotional and says a weight has been lifted off of her and things are so much easier, and she is upset that she didn't talk to me sooner. I have been working to fix some of my wife's guilt. I realized there were a lot of simple fixes. For example, I was able to go to my local bike shop and get a pull-behind trailer. Now, I pull her in that and she can use a small fan and ice packs, and Ella can ride her bike. I have taken off work so I can spend more time with them both. We are all in therapy and thankfully Ella's therapist is continuing to say she is securely attached to both of us, enjoys the time we spend together, is coping very well. Some of her behavior was due to another situation, which we have resolved, and she is excited to be a big sister. My wife was terrified that maybe she could sense her attitude shift, but her therapist says that she only has one complaint about my wife, that she forgot her candy one time and then it took 32 whole minutes for the store to deliver it. My wife is in therapy working to overcome the negative feelings she has. That is pretty much where we are now. We are getting very close to baby time and working hard to finish preparing. My wife still needs reassurance. There are a lot of times she brings up my ex, and I've found bringing up our first helps. For example, she will ask about certain things and how it was for me. I'll say I don't want to talk about that, and steer the conversation to us. Do you remember our first house? First vacation? First kiss? Date? Remember that time blah blah? It made me fall more in love with you. Do you remember when you and Ella made me blah? That is still one of my prized possessions. It upsets me that my wife suffered for so long. I believe saying it out loud took a lot of power away from her feelings. I think most people know how badly it feels when you have thoughts that don't feel like your own when you're going through a mentally taxing time. I really should have stood up for our relationship and her mental health way sooner. I accepted her brushing me off for far too long when I should have realized she needed help. I appreciate everyone who reached out or offered advice. I posted this in detail with my wife's permission. She hopes that it helps someone out there struggling with the same feelings she felt. Thanks for all the help, everyone. Story 2.
My husband and best friend have suddenly stopped talking, and I'm worried that this awkward silence is because they went behind my back, so that she could take him behind the back. Something weird is happening between my husband and my best friend Lily, and I don't know if my head is just making up stories or their actions are really suspicious. My husband Jack, 31 meters, and I, 31 feet, have been married for 4 years, and we are very happy together. He loves me a lot, but sometimes I have caught him lying to protect my feelings, which I do not really like. Lily is my best friend since college, and we were roommates. Just to give some background about Lily, she was in a long-term relationship with her boyfriend for 3 years, but they broke up last year. He was also very insecure about Lily and was very controlling about who Lily hangs out with. Lily's boyfriend was really jealous of Jack for some reason, and they would avoid hanging out with us. However, since the breakup, Lily and I have gotten closer and spend a lot of time shopping, going out to restaurants, etc. Jack also loves to tag along with us occasionally, but not always. Jack and Lily also get along well, and Lily has told me that if I find another Jack, I need to set up a blind date between them ASAP. 1 month ago, Jack, Lily and I had planned to go to a concert in our town. Jack was really excited as it was one of his favorite bands. I started feeling unwell the morning of the concert and just wanted to rest. Jack was disappointed but told me that we can offer our tickets to our friends, and we can see the band some other time. I didn't really want to spoil it for him, so I called few of my friends, and my friend Tara, mutual friend with Lily, was happy to go to the concert in my place. Jack still wanted to cancel, but I insisted he went as I would have felt bad if he missed the concert. They all went together and enjoyed the concert. Jack kept on sending me photos all through the night. The concert ended at 11 p.m., but I slept before that due to my medication. When I woke up in the morning, I was alone in the bed. I quickly checked my messages and Jack's last message was at 11 p.m., saying they are leaving the concert, and he should be home soon after dropping Lily. I went to the living room, and Jack was sleeping on the sofa in the same clothes he wore to the concert. I waited for him to get up. I asked him about the night and when he returned home. He said that he came back home between 2 to 3 a.m. He said that there were multiple accidents outside the concert venue, and the traffic was horrible. He said he dropped Lily at her place and came home directly. I asked him why he was sleeping on the sofa, and he told me that he did not want to disturb me, and also was too tired to change out of his clothes. Jack had some glitter on his clothes, but that was from dancing in the crowd at the concert. So, he just crashed on the sofa and slept immediately. It seemed plausible, and Lily also confirmed the story. However, the weird behavior started after this night. Firstly, Jack stopped tagging along with me when I was hanging out with Lily. He would come up with the most unbelievable reasons to avoid going out with me when Lily was there. Jack has also been a bit aloof with me since that night, and I have noticed him spending a lot more time in his home office playing video games at night, instead of coming to bed. 2 weeks ago, I invited Lily to our house for drinks after we went out for shopping, and she also started giving reasons to avoid coming to our place. Lily has not visited our place since that day. The only time Jack and Lily saw each other was during a house party at my friend's place last weekend. I was observing their behavior, and they both were avoiding each other. I asked Jack about why he is avoiding Lily, and he said that it's just in my imagination. Lily also said the same, but then starts giving me bullcrap reasons for not coming over to our apartment. I feel in my gut that their behavior is suspicious, but I am not sure if it's just my insecurity. How do I know what is going on? I have gone through Jack's phone multiple times, but the only messages between him and Lily are very sparse, and there are no messages since that night. I feel something happened between them that night, and both are just avoiding answering even the basic questions about why they are avoiding each other. Am I an idiot for assuming the worst? I really do not want to come off as insecure, but it is killing me from inside. What would you do? Relevant comments. Something for sure happened. Only question is exactly what. From what you said about her ex never liking him and her asking you to set up a date with another version of him, that she may have always had a thing for him. Maybe she was drunk and she went for it. If you cannot find out on your own due to lack of evidence, you need to sit them both down together and confront them both and demand the truth. I also want to do that. But I feel that if I am wrong, not only would I lose a friend, but Jack is also going to be upset that I am accusing him of something horrible. I just feel in my gut that things smell funky, but I am too scared to open the Pandora's box. Update. I had reached out to all of you last week regarding my husband and my best friend avoiding each other after they went to a concert together last month. I really wanted to thank you all for helping me in my time of need and helping me with my tech questions. So, I confronted Jack and frickin' Lily and was able to know what happened. I was briefly able to get access to Jack's phone last Friday night. I did not have time to retrieve any deleted messages. However, thanks to someone's idea, I opened his camera gallery and went through the photos he took that night. One important thing that jumped out was Lily's outfit. Lily was wearing a white shirt and denim shorts to the concert. As it was an outdoor concert, she took off her shirt and was only wearing a blue bikini top. She had some glittering fake tattoos on her shoulder and back. By the end of night, she was again wearing her shirt. So, for the glitter to be on Jack's car seat and his clothes, Lily had to have taken her shirt off in the car. I was so angry and could not keep my cool anymore. I went and confronted Jack. He immediately broke down and started apologizing to me. He said that it was his fault that he took it too far and was feeling very guilty all month. He said that he did not want to tell me because I would have been very upset, and he just wanted to forget it. I told him to tell me what happened in detail, and he did. He told me that Lily and Tara both got drunk during the concert. Jack had to hold Lily while taking her to the car. Lily slept in the car for an hour, while Jack was driving. When she got up, she started playing music and singing loudly. At one point, she told Jack that it is hot in the car, and before he could lower the AC temperature, she took off her shirt. Jack said he was very uncomfortable at this point and asked Lily if it's okay he drives to our house and she could sleep in the guest room, as her apartment would have added another 30 minutes to the drive. She insisted that she wanted to go home, so Jack took her home. As she got out, she asked Jack if he could walk her back to her apartment as she still felt tipsy. After she opened the apartment door, she hugged Jack and said thank you. Jack said that he was sorry that the hug lingered too long, and they had a moment. I had tears rolling down my eyes and asked him if they kissed. Jack told me of course not, but he cannot describe it, but there was definitely a moment between them. He told me that Lily invited him in, but he immediately told Lily that he had to leave and made a run to the car. I kept on asking what happened, and he just said they had a moment that he felt he could not control and just got out of there. After he came home, Lily messaged Jack that he should have come inside the apartment. Jack kept on telling Lily that it was an accident, and to forget about it. But Lily kept on asking Jack if he is attracted to her and if he had a good time. Jack told Lily that he is not attracted to her and never will be and told her to not tell me about it. She agreed, and he deleted all the messages. He said that he sat on the sofa because they were messaging each other for a long time, and he did not want me to hear it. I asked him if he could retrieve the messages, and he told me he deleted them and also cleaned all his archive and sent messages. He just wanted to forget the incident ever happened. I showed him my post and thanks to a comment, we went to find the messages on the SD card. Jack was right and the messages were the same as what Jack described. I'm still very mad at Jack for not telling me about it in the first place. This is where it got super weird. I invited Lily for brunch yesterday and met her. I told her that I talked to Jack, and he confessed to everything that happened that night during the concert. I asked her I wanted to give her a chance to tell her side of the story. Lily immediately became defensive. The story was the same until they got to her apartment building. Lily said that she opened her apartment door, she gave Jack a long hug for a great evening. She said that she could feel Jack wanted more but nothing happened beyond that. I asked her why she invited him inside the apartment. She told me that she wanted to offer him some water and snack as he was driving for a long time. I said that it's a really sly move to invite my husband in her apartment at 1 a.m. at night when she felt he wanted more from her than a hug. She said that I was just being jealous and crazy. We started arguing and she blurted out that she was not the one popping boners during the hug. I told her she is never going to see Jack again in her life, and our friendship is done. She started shouting that she knows Jack loves her and he does not act on it because of me. She went on about how I am always complaining about Jack and do not deserve him. She said that Jack has been so nice to her after the breakup, and she feels he would leave me for her if he had a chance. She finally said that she could make Jack way happier than I ever could, and he has started to realize it now. At this point, I just wanted to avoid a blowout and walked away. I talked to Jack at night and what Lily said. He confirmed to me that he did become aroused when he hugged Lily that night, and he does not know why. Lily held his hand and invited him in after the hug, and he just ran towards his car. He said he feels guilty about it, but it does not mean he has feelings for Lily. He said he is very happy being married to me and would like to keep it that way for the rest of his life. Although I am relieved that nothing happened between them, it has been hard for me to process my thoughts. I feel mad at Jack for hugging Lily in the middle of night when she is barely wearing anything. He should know better. On the other hand, I feel like an idiot that my best friend had a thing for my husband that I had no clue about and pushed both of them to go to the concert together. Anyway, thanks for all the help.
Story 3. My long-term wife has built up so much resentment towards me that she would rather we co-parent than a platonic companionship, so I guess I'm being shafted and friend-zoned. My wife, 35 feet, and I, 35 meters, have been married for 15 years and we've been together for 20 years. We have 2 kids, 12 and 14, we absolutely adore and work tirelessly to provide the best possible life for them. For the past 3 years, things have been somewhat bumpy. I understand that our kids are at an age where they require a ton of our attention and resources with school, band, club sports, and other extracurricular activities, and I'm aware of the physical and emotional toll that can have on marriages. However, for these past 3 years, my wife and I have had very little intimacy and we've been trying very hard to work on that aspect of our relationship. This past year has been the most difficult and by far the darkest year in our marriage. We didn't talk very much, we essentially became roommates co-parenting our kids under the same roof. It was very depressing and very demoralizing. It was to the point where we began contemplating divorce and it became very dark and gloomy in the household because of that. We began seeking help with both individualized therapy and couples therapy and it seems to have helped some. Little by little we started to get along and started to have deeper conversations about what our marriage looks like and what we would love for it to look like. This is where it gets tough. As time passed, my wife started to tell me she no longer was in love with me and that she only saw me as a best friend. That she only loved me in a very platonic way, and this was one of the main reasons she didn't have any desire for intimacy and let alone affection. This was very shocking to me and quite frankly, I was devastated. I was angry and depressed and I couldn't fathom the thought that I was no longer wanted or desired by the person I felt completely in love with. Things began to deteriorate again and not long after, we were back to square one. I sat down with her one afternoon and had a heart-to-heart and began to ask questions about where the root of this problem lies, and her answer was I don't know and that I have built up resentment towards you but I don't know where it stems from. As you can imagine, this provides very little to no insight into how to approach this. I'm puzzled, I'm frustrated and I do not know what to do at this point. Currently, we've arrived at a place where she says that she has no intimacy drive and no desire for intimacy or connection. She says that all she wants is simply companionship, which basically means our co-parenting roommate dynamic. I asked her what I could possibly do or what is it about me that is so unattractive or undesirable and her response is always I don't know. She stated that she does love me but it's not the same. That she has been feeling disconnected for years and that our marriage just takes up too much work. Her focus is only the children for now and that my co-parenting contributions are meaningful to her in our home. I'm at a loss and I'm mainly venting about my frustration. It's tough to realize that the person you love has no feelings for you. I feel like at this point I'm only here to contribute financially and as a parent. I feel like what she means with companionship is that she's comfortable with the convenience of having a good father for our kids and my financial contribution to the household. In regard to intimacy and/or intimacy, she basically told me that it's not something she's interested in or wants at this time. She mentioned that the only way to get to a point for any of that is to be intoxicated, which I believe is incredibly awful and very wrong. I told her I do not think forcing herself to have intimacy or be intimate by drinking or smoking is good and I declined to be a part of that, which to my surprise, it upset her and made her more distant. We're both extremely honest and transparent. We've never cheated on each other and we are always free to look through each other's phones, emails, socials, etc. and we hardly ever do. I asked her if there was someone else and she declined. Honestly, I believe her. We then peacefully went through each other's things and as expected, it was clean. We've always been very forward, even with the hard topics, so I don't smell nor feel any foul play or infidelity. Am I wrong for declining to only be intimate or have intimacy when she's intoxicated? I'm firm on my stance of not partaking in this only when I'm high or drunk intimacy because it doesn't sit well with me. I do not know how to help our situation and I'm starting to become a bit anxious and desperate. We're both fairly young and healthy individuals and good looking. We both have good standing careers and are good parents. I'm just not sure how our lives could have driven us to this point. I'd love some outside perspective on this matter and some insight on how to address something like this. It feels so awful to be unwanted and undesired by my own spouse. I hate it. Update 1. Because some commenters discovered this, yes, we did some swinging in the past. That was fun for some time. We mutually decided to stop doing it, and we have established it's not the case. When we were swinging, however, our marriage seemed to be in a good place. This is something we did disclose with our couple therapist and made sure to include it to make sure we're not neglecting an obvious potential issue. I will say, I did ask my wife if what she experienced during swinging is something that is affecting her view on our relationship, and she said it wasn't. Our swinging experience was always together, and it was very intimacy driven. Nothing really emotional or poly. Truth is, I have to believe her at her word. I have no reason to distrust her. To date, she's always been very forward and never afraid of dealing things head on. No matter how painful. I agree that swinging wasn't a solution in the end. Never was meant to be, it was more of discovering or exploring if she felt any different. If that was the case, we agreed we would talk about, and if we arrive at the conclusion that myself is the problem and she has no problem with other men, we would amicably part ways. However, this wasn't the case. She didn't like rumpy pump nor intimacy there either. She was very much in control of that whole swinging situation. And yes, I went along with it. What gives? It felt very organic, and it was her effort, if you will, to discovering more and learning more about our current issue. I saw it as a means of learning if I'm the problem and was very much ready to accept that. It turns out it wasn't the case. 6 years of miser sound awful. I would very much hate that. More often than not, swinging causes massive issues. However, this was something we explored in pursuit of a solution to an issue that was present way before. I think of it as taking a practical approach to trying to solve the problem. Update 2. I wanted to give you guys an update of how the therapy session with my wife went this week. Not sure if this is helpful or not, but I took many of the responses from my initial post and put together some things I wanted to discuss with our couples therapist to help us navigate some of the core issues that may be affecting this situation. One of the main things that is the buzzword of this has been the term resentment, and it has been really eating me up inside knowing my wife keeps telling me she doesn't know why she's resentful or doesn't know why this is affecting her emotionally and mentally. I brought this up with our therapist once again and resurfaced the conversation about being married for so long and being together since we were 14 years old. Our long history of growing up and how having children when she was 19 years old, me 20, significantly changed the trajectory of our lives. We experienced severe poverty and many hardships in the process, and we essentially had zero social life for the past 10 years because we were so busy raising babies. She followed up with tons of questions directly mostly at my wife about her feelings towards this, and 90% of the responses were very our kids focused. It definitely felt like she was afraid of saying yes it sucked because she would feel guilt or shame because it would imply she regrets the kids. I mentioned this in the session, and the therapist encouraged her to look at this outside of the lens of being a mother and to try to view it a bit more selfishly and individually, and it was very eye-opening. My wife mentioned that she was very frustrated with the fact that we did miss out on many things in life. She also was very clear in saying, I do not think I missed out on other partners or dating or partying, but I certainly lost all my friends. This was huge because one of the big pieces that has caused a strain in our lives is how siloed and isolated we've been. I followed up by reminding her that it's important to have good friends and to make time for herself and her friendships. For the past 3+ years, we've had multiple conversations about friends and how it is important to have them in life. Especially when you have similar peers that can help in many areas of life that perhaps we have no experience navigating, and even simply for enjoyment. It has always been something my wife avoids, even though she's always been someone who needs that external stimuli. The main reason for her not investing in friends or even herself has always been the kids. Like I mentioned earlier in this post, 90% of the answers have to relate to the kids to some degree. At this point in our session, I started to feel like there was a common denominator, the kids, in most of the frustrations and problems she was experiencing. So I simply asked her, do you think you may be upset at me because I'm responsible for these kids in the sense that I got you pregnant so young? I wasn't ready, but she said that she was upset at me for that. She also followed up with the fact that she knows that's unreasonable because it takes two to tango. I did feel like it was progress because it kind of gave us something to work on and help alleviate some of these burdens, so we agreed to invest more time in nurturing good friendships both together and individually. Towards the end of the session, we began to discuss what actionable items we would take from this session. At this point, it was still all very ambiguous and blurry as to what the outcomes were. I was very direct and very forward in asking my wife what her plan is moving forward. Note, I had decided prior to the session that should my wife say the same thing about being a co-parenting roommate, that I would take the 180 approach and essentially do me. She started basically saying the same thing, that she doesn't have any desire to be intimate or naughty with me as of now, and that she loves me immensely and she feels bad for not being there for me. I also brought up the brief swinging that happened, to which for the 50th time said it wasn't a problem. I agree with her on this. This was something that was a mechanical approach for a solution to a problem that was very much in existence when we tried this. We, both, really have no issue with this. We know it happened, we tried it and mutually stopped and turned the page. I also brought up other life events that may cause resentment, and really we ended up not getting anywhere else as far as the root for resentment, which was discouraging. I then basically expressed to my wife that I will not be okay with that arrangement. I told her that I've really done everything I can and that this issue really has reached a point where it has nothing to do with me or require me to do anything that I'm currently not doing. I was very direct and said that I will not be accepting this dynamic and that I need to be with someone who is actively involved in our marriage, works towards resolutions and is very much interested in maintaining an active intimacy and sexual relationship. I expressed how I am not going to be a convenience and that there was more to life than being roommates and co-parents. I made sure she knows I love her dearly and that I do want this to work for the better. I also told her that I'm fully committed to this marriage so long as she is as well, and that if she wasn't, it's okay. However, I will not be a part of something where these efforts are not reciprocated. I told her I have no plans of leaving, and I do not want a divorce. However, I made it clear that if this dynamic continues, that divorce will be the only outcome. Of course, tears were involved and it was a very bleak and sad ending to the session. Still nothing was said and I walked out very discouraged and very determined to start working on the 180 as soon as we left the room. It's painful and very difficult because much of the 180 requires you to be very short and cold and transactional. The saddest part is realizing, this dynamic already is very cold and transactional. Here is where it gets very interesting. I started working on implementing many of the 180 recommendations that same day. I mentioned to my wife that, hey, things are going to be a bit different moving forward. I'm going to honor her roommate and co-parent dynamic without reproach, and that it should be no mistake that I am not happy here and I am never going to be okay with it, but I am done working on it if she wasn't going to work on it. She agreed and went to bed. I started to build distance and started to basically focus on myself. Very short and transactional. She asked for help on some of her personal things, to which I declined, and it really shocked her. She was upset, saying I was being petulant. I explained to her that she is now fully in charge of her own life and her own issues. We didn't talk all day and we only spoke when necessary. A few days I keep this going and she's very visibly upset and stressed. I typically react to that with gestures of help or nurturing, but I didn't this time. That night she was crying, telling me she's stressed and she thinks something is wrong with me because I'm indifferent. I simply listened. Then I told her that this is the dynamic she proposed and that I'm simply, much like her, taking care of myself and focusing on myself. I'm not going to lie, it has been very hard to be cold and distant because, as I mentioned before, I love her and I wish I could hold her and love on her. However, I know this is somewhat manipulative in a way, just to get her way and still keep me in the friend zone. So I've been staying the course. We're now going on a week of this 180 and let's just say, there have been many changes on her side. I think she is starting to realize there is more to me than just friends and co-parenting. I sent her a text a few days ago essentially itemizing bills and separating the financial responsibilities 50-50, and she lost her crap. She basically told me it was out of left field, to which I responded, hey, friends go in 50-50 and as your friend I expect nothing less. This was very eye-opening because it gave me a glimpse of how I'm really taken for granted and how her level of comfort and convenience at my expense is really overlooked. I pushed through anyway and basically told her that this is the new dynamic she asked for and that it's still a bargain because she would have to be 100% if she was on her own. I'll wrap up with this. While the 180 has been working in many different areas, I am still very much sad about the overall situation. There have been many eye-opening statements being said and realizations that have not been pleasant to encounter. It has also sparked new energy and new efforts on her side as well. She's definitely seeking to talk to me more often, and while it's hard to turn down, I hope if things improve, this continues to happen. I've also noticed that she's making more time for herself aside from being a mom, which is huge because she pretty much neglected herself for years. I'm very pleased seeing her be more herself. My hope is that as we work on ourselves, the marriage improves. There really is no telling at this point where this will go. We are very much cordial and amicable even to this day, and that's a very good sign. Boundaries are set and expectations are very clear, and I feel that no matter the outcome, I will be at peace with everything that has been done. We're still going to continue the couples therapist until we either rekindle our marriage or end up in divorce. I feel like having this non-biased third party really helps as a witness and as a guide through this. No matter what, I will always love my wife. However, I will not participate in a sexless, intimacy-less marriage because we both deserve better. Thank you all for all the kind words and recommendations and feedback. This will be my last post on this topic and I wish you all the best. Story 4.
I've started to realize that my husband is more affectionate with his phone and computer than he is with me, and no amount of begging will get me any more attention from him. My husband, 27 meters, and I, 28 feet, got married 9 months ago and have been together for 4 years. My husband is the type of person who stays to himself unless it's absolutely necessary or completely unavoidable. He's quiet and doesn't really talk to anyone unless he really enjoys their company. He's a gamer and prefers to spend his free time alone playing video games. We joke that he's a hermit because he hates leaving the house. If we do have to go anywhere, he gets really anxious after about an hour or two in public before he's begging me to go home. On the other hand, I love talking to people I care about and seeing them often. I like for my husband to be nearby or in the same room whenever possible, even if we're doing different things. I take every chance I have to get out of the house, but I don't really enjoy going places and doing things by myself. I try to find those little opportunities for connection, but it's been a struggle. Now the problem: 3 nights ago, we got into an argument that ended with me sobbing, begging him for more attention and affection, and my husband telling me, "I ask about your day and eat dinner with you sometimes. You should be grateful for that." What more do you want? I'm not even sure how the argument started that night, but it wasn't the first time we've had this fight, and it's gotten progressively worse since the wedding. Whether it's his phone or computer, my husband is always glued to a screen, and he doesn't even bother to look up at me when I try to talk to him. It has gotten to the point where he will come home from work and sit outside in 95-plus-degree heat for hours to play on his phone without being disturbed. He'll only come inside for food or to use the bathroom until it's time for bed, and he'll do this all without ever saying a word to me. I've told him I was lonely and that I missed his company. I've asked if he lost interest in spending time with me. In the past, we tried to find solutions. Sometimes we followed through, and sometimes we didn't. Lately, his response is always, "I'm a boring person, and I'm just really tired from the heat. It's summertime, we live in the southern US, and he works construction." But his comment about being grateful is a new low for us, and while emotionally I'm still starving for his attention, I don't know how to move past this. I know my husband idolizes his parents' marriage, separate and content. They spend most of their time apart and only really come together for meals and sleeping, and the occasional check-in or serious conversation here and there. While I adore my in-laws and can clearly see how in love they are, I do not want my own marriage to be like theirs at all, and my husband knows this. So why should I be grateful for the bare minimum, if I can even call it that? What the hell does that even mean, anyway? Does he think I don't deserve more? Am I not worth the effort to him? I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm so damn sad. I don't want to wear my wedding ring. I don't want to share a bed with him. I'm not even interested in talking to him anymore. I've come to the realization that I don't want to be with someone who makes loving me feel like a chore. My best friend thinks I should try talking to him again, tell him how I feel and try to work it out. I don't think it will get us anywhere, as there's no point in having the same conversation in the hope that it will suddenly change things. We've tried couples therapy before getting married. It did help us through some problems we were having, shout out to the Gottman method, but my husband complained about it a lot. He didn't see the point of the activities we did each session and straight up refused to do the homework assigned to us. I'd suggest trying therapy again if I thought it would help, but I don't see any outcome that makes me feel like he's paying me more attention without making my husband miserable. Divorce feels like a massive jump, and it would be super messy. Both of our names are on the deed to the house, all of our money is in one shared bank account, and his mom just co-signed for a car with me and added it to her insurance policy to help us save money. Our state requires a minimum 6-month separation period before filing. My husband has made it clear that he's 100% against divorce being the solution to our problems, so I don't think he would let it be a peaceful or easy separation. Even now, as I type this, my husband is outside watching a movie on his phone. He hasn't made a single attempt to talk to me today, except to ask if I paid a medical bill. I've been crying ever since he told me to be grateful. I feel trapped in a failed marriage. It's like the last 4 years were all for nothing, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. What should I do? Update. First off, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented. Second, I want to answer some recurring questions. No, my husband was not always like this. I knew he was an introvert because we were friends for 2 years before we started dating. I fell in love with all his little personality quirks, and we've had long discussions about both of our expectations long before the idea of marriage was ever on the table. I never wanted to fix him, nor did I ever expect him to change himself for me. However, I don't expect the internet to understand the intricacies of a relationship between two individuals based on one post. In the beginning of our relationship, I gave him his space when he needed it, but he would always return the affection that I needed from him. This avoidant behavior began right before we got married, more on this later. My husband is not autistic. He was tested twice as a child, as I found out from my mill. He's just very antisocial. Together, we have a very small and close-knit group of friends that he really enjoys being around. Outside of those chosen few, he doesn't like people. However, we both have untreated yet high-functioning ADHD. It was my husband's idea to do couples therapy before getting married. At the time, there was nothing wrong in our relationship. Simply put, we both saw the benefits that premarital counseling could have for us in the long run: how to effectively communicate emotions, how to properly resolve arguments, share household responsibilities, and keep our marriage interesting 5, 10, even 50 years down the road. My husband complained because most of the activities we did were at least 20 years old and felt outdated, i.e. taking messages from the landline voicemail. Who the frick still uses a landline? That being said, we still learned some great tools that we have been able to implement in our marriage, and they work really well for us, so we stopped therapy once we felt we no longer needed a mediator. Finally, the update. Buckle up, y'all, this is about to be a long one. Sunday night, I decided I was going to leave. I knew I needed some genuine time and space away from my husband to get my head straight and figure out if a divorce was really what I wanted in this situation. So I called my parents and arranged for them to keep my dog for a couple of weeks. Yesterday morning, my best friend told me she was getting a guest room ready for me, and I started packing up my things. My husband came home from work a little early and saw all my stuff by the front door. He started crying and asked between sobs if I was leaving. All I did was nod my head and continued packing. What happened next feels like a blur. It's important to note here that a storm had knocked our power out earlier that morning and it had not come back on at this point, so the house wasn't as cool as usual. My husband's crying became faster, and I heard him mumble something about a headache. He dropped his work stuff and stumbled to a bathroom, then started vomiting. Curiosity got the best of me, and when I peeked in to check on him, I knew something was wrong. His breathing had become shallow and rapid, and he was sweating more now than when he had walked in. He looked pale, and was slurring his words a little. When I put my hand on his neck to see if he was okay, his skin was clammy and burning up. I realized in this moment that there was a strong chance he was having a heat stroke. I helped my husband out of his work clothes and into a cool shower, then went to find him some loose-fitting clothes and ice packs. Once he was out of the shower and dressed, I drove him straight to the small emergency room down the street. After an initial assessment, it was determined that my husband was probably not having a heat stroke, but severe heat exhaustion. His body temperature started coming down after they put one of those air-filled cooling blankets over him, but he was still very weak and dehydrated. The doctor decided to keep him for observation while doing a few rounds of 4 fluids, and we were able to come home in the middle of the night after a bunch of different tests were done to make sure there was no damage to my husband's organs. While we waited, we had a lot of time to talk without any distractions. There was a lot of crying from both of us, but we finally got to the bottom of things. I won't bore you all with the details, but 2023 was not a good year for me. It started when my husband's truck flipped after getting hit by a drunk driver. We were wearing our seatbelts and managed to walk away with only some aches and bruises, but I developed PTSD and began having panic attacks while driving. I was under a ton of stress from planning our wedding, which caused high blood pressure and horrible migraines. At the same time, I was experiencing massive burnout from working in healthcare the last 4 years and during the pandemic. I was diagnosed with manic bipolar disorder and was coping with an infertility diagnosis all within 6 months. My mental health was tanking, and I honestly just needed a little extra emotional support. This is around the time the arguments for more attention began. My husband and I eventually sat down to figure out a solution to my worsening mental state, and we both agreed that I could benefit from taking some extended time away from work, seeing as my symptoms were made worse by stress. My husband was happy to let me play housewife for as long as I needed while he provided for us, but I got bored easily staying home all day. I made the decision to quit my job last Christmas, and took a higher-paying, part-time job after the start of the new year. Even though my mental health was getting better, the arguments over attention started to get worse. My husband started to withdraw a bit, and what started as "give me 15 minutes to finish this game, then we can watch a movie or go grab food," turned into, "go ask a friend to hang out or pick up some extra shifts at work if you don't want to stay home." I did those things, and even started reading more, and finally got around to decorating our house. It was clear he wanted his space, so I kept busy. I tried to find things to do together that he might enjoy, so we've planned 4 vacations over the next year for us to look forward to, our first trip being just 2 months away. I still felt lonely and continued to ask for affection, but it only made him withdraw more, and as summer started, his reason was being too tired from the heat. Now we've had a lot going on in our lives over the last month or so. I made the decision to start working full-time again, and I was a little nervous about it, which probably prompted me to bring up the need for more attention. My original post was less about his behavior as a whole, and more specific to his comment about being grateful. This comment was completely out of character for my husband and caught me off guard. In the moment, my feelings were hurt, and I truly believed he meant what he said, that I should be grateful for bare minimum treatment. It made me question our entire relationship, and whether or not this marriage would work if that's how he truly felt. Needless to say, the heat really was messing with his head. When I asked my husband why he thinks I should be grateful for how he's been treating me in our marriage, he doesn't remember saying that or even having the argument in the first place. The entire weekend, he knew I was upset with him, but he couldn't figure out why, so he kept his distance until he felt like I had calmed down enough to talk about it. Coming home and seeing me ready to leave was his tipping point. Turns out, my husband has been severely depressed since switching crews at work. His last superintendent dropped the ball on his promotion before sending him to work overnights on a chemical refinery turnaround. When that job finished, my husband got placed with a superintendent that openly does not like him and has a known, documented, history of treating my husband badly due to the color of his skin, or lack thereof. Over the last few weeks, this superintendent has been giving my husband a really hard time, and is now refusing to sign the company endorsement paperwork for him to begin operator school. My husband has been keeping this all balled up inside, letting it eat away at him, because he was too worried the stress of the situation would flare up my symptoms and trigger a manic episode. That's why he had been isolating himself so much, and paired with the heat, he had completely checked out mentally because he was trying to protect me. I'm sorry to disappoint so many of you, but I love my husband, and have decided to stick by his side as we work through this together. My husband has agreed to set timers in order to limit his screen time. We are going to try therapy again, both together and individually, to work on communicating better and dealing with stress. Right now he is still resting from the heat exhaustion, and hopefully he'll be better by this weekend. Thank you all again for your advice, even though I won't be taking it.
Story 5. I tricked my notoriously late parents into being on time for my wedding, and in return, they're ridiculing me for being an awful son. My 33 meters parents are late for everything. Like, everything. Both my sisters and I have been disappointed so many times. Graduation ceremonies, birthday parties, even my father's retirement dinner. It is completely my mother's fault. She is a wonderful mother, and I love her dearly, but she just does not understand the concept of punctuality. I have seen her talking to her sister on the phone and reminded her she needed to be at my baby sister's dance recital. She waved me off and arrived after my sister had danced. We are all used to it. My dad is just done trying to get her to be on time for anything. My now wife, 28 feet, told me in no uncertain terms that if my mother was late for our wedding, she would do terrible things to me. She was only half joking. But she was a witness to my mom and dad arriving halfway through my cousin's quinceañera. So here is what I did. It is completely on me. My wife was not involved. If there was a schlong move, and it was completely mine. When we were getting samples for the wedding, I talked to the printer and had one special invitation printed with the time on it stated as being 1 hour earlier than the actual start time of the ceremony. My mother was beside herself, apparently, when they left the house and thought they were going to miss the wedding since she was a part of it, with her and my mother-in-law lighting the candles we would use to light the unity candle and stuff. When she arrived and noticed other people were also just arriving and parking, she was so relieved that we were starting late that she just went with it. The ceremony went off beautifully. And so did the wedding pictures and the reception. The problem came last Sunday. My parents came over for a big family dinner, and we didn't bother starting the grill until they showed up. She asked why everyone wasn't eating, and we just said we knew we would be waiting for them since they are always late. She said that she was not always late and had been on time for my wedding. She hadn't been. They arrived 45 minutes after the time on their invitation. My idiot cousin John, real name because it's common and he deserves people to know he is adult, snorted at her statement. A few other people giggled or smiled at this, and she picked up on it and asked what was so funny. I came clean and told her about the special invitation. She is pissed at me for not trusting her and making her look foolish in front of everyone. If my cousin had just controlled himself, she never would have known. Was what I did really too far? Or are they overreacting? Edit 1. Part of the reason she is mad is because she had her invitation framed. To be honest, I was already planning a heist with my sisters to replace it with the real one in case she ever noticed the discrepancy between hers and the one we have framed in our home. Edit 2. Yeah, we are Latinos. And no, I do not in any way consider it racist how many of you guessed that. I have been to Spain, and it's an issue there too. And the Philippines. Basically anywhere those guys were in charge. Edit 3. Stop defending John. He and I have spent 30 years messing with each other. I have another story that ends with me getting an offensive tattoo, $5,000 for removal, and him getting a body cavity search at the Mexican border. I would post it, but it happened like 10 years ago. Update 1. Fine, you win, here is the relevant part of the story. I grew up with my older cousin John. We constantly fight like in a cartoon. I also know I can trust him with my life. And he knows I will always have his back. We do, however, try and mess each other over as much as possible. Because it's funny. So he and I went on vacation to Mexico. Things happen. I got a tattoo. Different story. Anyways, since we have relatives all over, I can always find anything I need. In this particular case, what I needed was some of the substance that cops use to train drug-sniffing dogs. It is not an illegal or controlled substance in Mexico. But the dogs will hit on you if they smell it. So I had to stay in Mexico a few extra days to deal with some of the situation he created. I was kind enough to take him to the border in TJ so our other cousin could pick him up on the American side. I was just hoping he would get the shot scared out of him when the drug dogs hit on his luggage. We learned from a young age never to carry anything illegal over international borders because we are almost always selected for screening. I knew for a fact he was clean. Just hungover. Anyways, it turns out that when a kid born in a certain South American country, carrying a Canadian passport, and only a backpack crosses the border and the drug dogs indicate he should be searched, he gets very thoroughly searched. And when they don't find anything, well, he ended up having his body cavity searched. He thinks I went too far. Edit. Yes, I'm fully aware it was overkill. Can I defend my actions? Not really. Taken as a totality of our lives, though, I still probably owe him for the stuff he has done to me. Like a lot. And for the record, I did apologize. Update 2. Well, it's been 2 years, so if anyone is interested, here is what happened. My parents have been embarrassed for 2 years now because of how I tricked them into being on time for my wedding. Pretty much every time I see them, they say I was a schlong not to trust them. Our church is very busy and full of young people. So lots of weddings. To the point where there are 3 weddings every Saturday all summer long. 1 at 10, 1 at noon, and 1 at 3. Sometimes, but not often, there is also an evening wedding. My little sister just got married. She snagged the noon slot. My mom got super involved in planning the wedding to prove that I'm just an immature asshole. She said that she would be on time and not miss anything. Side note. I personally hate when people clink glasses to get the bride and groom to kiss. At our wedding, people had to sing a song. My cousin John has no shame and sang like 10 times. I think people were bribing him with alcohol. I set up a betting pool for kisses depending on how late my parents were. It cost $10, and if you guessed within 5 minutes, you got a free pass to make my sister and her husband kiss. Almost everyone bet on time because of the craptravaganza at my wedding. The correct answer was 25 minutes. Only me, my idiot cousin John, and his sister Yvonne got free passes for the kissing. And I bet $100. I was confident. We raised almost $1,500 for the honeymoon with my stupid idea. And I got to interrupt my sister from eating with my 10 passes. Win-win. Except for my mom, who thinks I did it to embarrass her. She literally helped plan the wedding and was still late. By over half an hour. We were literally cleaning up the decorations in my sister's colors while the next wedding was decorating after us. So that's that. My mom will never change. But I have harnessed her inability to give a crap about punctuality for the good of humanity. Thanks for listening, hope you enjoyed. Story 6.
My husband's jealous girl best friend was praying for the downfall of our marriage, and even faked messages from his ex to make me think he was cheating. My husband, 27 meters, has a group of 8 friends he is close with since his college days. Zara, 27 fish, is one of his friends. When my husband and I, 26 feet, started dating, he introduced me to all of them, and everyone was very friendly. I used to hang out with them frequently. I'm an introvert, and so is my husband. I would always ask him to spend time alone as being in social settings just saps all my energy away. His friends, and especially Zara, always made it a point to tell me how he hangs out with them less after he started dating me. Zara also had a weird energy around me. If I was with my husband, she would be the friendliest with me. However, as soon as he walked away, she acted like I did not exist. My husband hates to be touched by others, we both are ND, but Zara would always tease him by trying to hug him, mess his hair, etc. I never felt she was flirting with him, but just teasing him to make him annoyed. Overall, she just feels like a person who has a severe social boundary issue. We got married 2 years ago, and things have been great between us. Last week, we had our second marriage anniversary and invited a bunch of people. His friends stayed back after all the guests left, and we were all drinking and chatting. One of his friends, Lily, became a bit tipsy and started complimenting me on how beautiful our house is, how I care for my husband, and how he has changed for the better since marriage. Everyone was laughing at my husband at how much of a slob he was when he was single. Lily then pointed at Zara and said, "You better pay up, 'cause you bet that their marriage would not even last for 2 years." Everyone became silent and started changing the topic. I also did not want to spoil the mood and let it go, but it stuck in my head. After everyone left, I asked my husband what Lily was talking about. He also had noticed Lily saying that and was ready with a full explanation. He told me the story of what happened when we got engaged. When he proposed to me, he had not told his friends that he was going to do that. We went on a trip to Puerto Rico, and he surprised me there. We put our engagement pictures on Instagram while we were on the trip, and it was a big surprise to everyone as we were only dating for 1 year. When he came back and met all his friends, everyone congratulated him. However, Sarah started ranting about how he was a fool to propose so quickly, and she felt that I was not the right girl for him. Seems like she said some unkind things about me, implying I was a gold digger. My husband's family is wealthy, but so is mine. She had said that she bet we would break up within 2 years if we got married. That is why Lily was taunting her about how happy my husband was with me. I was very furious at this point, as I feel this is something he should have told me. I asked him to tell me truthfully if he had ever dated Zara or had any history with her, as he has always told me that he has never dated anyone from his friend group. He said that he has of course not dated or hooked up with Zara. However, Zara had asked him out a few times when they were in college, and he always politely declined. I asked why he said no to her, and he said he just does not have any romantic feelings for her. I can see that because my husband does have a type based on me or the other people he has dated in the past, and Zara is the opposite of that. I'm just mad at her for saying bad things about me, especially after knowing that we were already engaged and betting against my marriage. I told my husband that he needs to minimize contact with Zara and she is not invited to parties at our house anymore. He feels I am being too harsh for something she said almost 3 years ago. He also pointed out that she has been very supportive to both of us, and also helped a lot during our wedding arrangements. He feels she is just blunt and forthright when she speaks, but does not mean those things. He told me to take some time and calm down, and we would revisit this topic in a week. He is worried this will completely change the dynamics within his friend group. Am I in the wrong for wanting him to block her and stop inviting her to our house? Do you think I am overreacting? I think betting against our marriage and badmouthing me behind my back seems like a huge betrayal. I'm also mad at my husband that he kept this fact from me, and also never told me that Zara asked him out during college days. Am I just being crazy and reactive? How would you react in this situation? I don't want to distance my husband from his friends, but I also do not want to see that boogerhead Zara's face again. What do you think? Relevant comments. How has Zara acted since the wedding? Has her behavior changed? You describe bad behavior in the past tense, so one might believe she's not doing those things anymore. Does she still exhibit boundary issues with your husband? Yes, her behavior with my husband has not changed at all after marriage. However, she is the same with all other friends too. With me, she is fake nice, where she acts like we are best friends in front of my husband, and barely talks to me when he is not around. Update 1. Things were really horrible for the last few months and that boogerhead Zara almost ruined my life. I don't even know how to describe it. I might write about it next week as I saw a lot of messages asking for an update. I just want other women to be careful of such a snake. Update 2. I had posted almost 6 months ago regarding my husband's friend Zara betting that our marriage would not last for more than 2 years. I was upset and had asked my husband to stop talking to her because she disrespected our marriage. Since then, Zara has pulled some really pathetic shenanigans to stir up issues between my husband and me. After I made the post, my husband was trying to convince me that Zara was just joking when she made those comments, and it happened so long ago. Zara messaged me the next day apologizing for her comments and also not making more efforts to connect with me. I accepted her apology and started warming up to her. She started inviting me for brunches and girls' night out with them, and I felt included in their friend group. One day during brunch, I brought up why Zara really thought our marriage would not work out. Zara told me that my husband broke up with his long-term ex-girlfriend Alice 2 months before he started dating me. I knew that part, but Zara told me that my husband was really heartbroken after the breakup and swore to her that he would stay away from dating anyone. When he met me, my mom set us up on a blind date. She was surprised how quickly we hit it off. Zara thought that I was his rebound relationship, but when he proposed to me within a year, she was worried that he was making a very rash decision. My husband's family is rich, and she thought it was unwise for him to marry so quickly without knowing me well. She did not know enough about me and that my family is also very well off. That is why she was concerned that I was taking advantage of his vulnerable state. She apologized to me and said that it was wrong for her to assume that, and over the years, she has seen how happy we are together. I appreciated her honesty and Zara, and I became good friends since then and started hanging out more frequently. Around 2 months ago, my husband went for a conference to Seattle for 3 nights. After he came back, I got a "Hey girly" message on Instagram from Alice, his ex. She told me that my husband contacted her a few months ago and they met in Seattle during the conference, and she could give me more proof if I wanted. I went through my husband's Instagram, but he seems to have blocked her. I made a mistake of mentioning it to Zara, as she was the only person honest to me about Alice, and she went into detective mode to help me. She was still friends with Alice on Instagram, as they all went to college together, and opened her profile. The message sent to me was from a different profile, with no followers. We checked her photos, and we saw that she attended the same conference as my husband did in Seattle. Zara suggested I should ask Alice for more proof and also ask my husband about the same before assuming the worst. I asked my husband if he met Alice, and he said yes. He told me he just met her in the expo hall and chatted with her for a few minutes. I asked him why he did not mention it to me, and he told me it was just a quick conversation, and he did not think too much of it. He asked me how I knew it, and I told him that Zara mentioned that she saw her pictures at the conference, and I thought he might have seen her. I messaged Alice again to share more proof. She told me that they have been chatting for the past 2 months and planned to attend the conference together. She shared a log of their messages, where my husband was actively flirting with her. The screenshots did look legit, but I did not see any of those messages in my husband's Instagram profile. I talked to Zara about it, as I did not know what to believe. I messaged Alice to tell us what happened between them, and she told me that he invited her to the room at nights and they hooked up, but she does not have any photos as he insisted they do not take any pictures together. I immediately realized it was fake and messaged Alice to buzz off. She kept on insisting they were telling the truth, and she spent the nights with my husband in his room on all 3 nights. I told her that my husband and I were playing video games, Sea of Thieves, for almost 2 to 3 hours each night after his dinner, as that is what we do to catch up when he is away. Unless Alice was sitting behind him watching us play until he fell asleep, she was full of baloney. I also told my husband about the whole incident, and he told me I should have come to him sooner. He told me that he has gone no contact with Alice ever since they broke up, and he just ran into her at the conference. He told me I could check his phone and everything to verify that he has blocked her everywhere. I told him I do not need to, and Alice might have run into him and just decided to mess up his life by making up stuff. When all the friends met that weekend, my husband and I told everyone about how Alice sent messages to me and faked everything. Zara was also telling what happened as she had told her about it. Zara accidentally let it slip out that luckily, we are nerds and played video games at night before sleeping, else, props go to Alice for making up a convincing story. I never told Zara about the video game stuff. I just told her Alice is full of baloney, and I blocked her. It took me until I came home to connect the dots. I told my husband about it, and he confronted Zara. She denied it and told him that I told her about the video game stuff on a phone call, but I don't remember doing it. We have since decided to keep our distance from Zara. Zara has called me multiple times to meet up, but I just make up reasons that I am busy. I do not know why she did it, but at this point, I am not interested in it, and we have decided to just see her on social occasions and avoid hanging out with her as much as possible. I feel stupid that she played me for a fool, and I should have not gone to her when Alice started messaging me. In hindsight, it seems suspicious that Zara started telling me about Alice, and at the same time, Alice claimed to have an affair with my husband. I do not know what her intentions are, but I am mad enough that I will avoid her as much as possible. I wish I had some real proof that she was the one messaging me so that I could expose her. I also feel bad for suspecting my husband. But I am glad my husband and I are on the same page now. Thanks everyone. Relevant comments. Does your husband also believe that Zara made up a fake Instagram account, pretending to be Alice? Because that's pretty psycho behavior. Yes. He believes me because I told him that I never told Zara why I thought the account was fake. It's possible she guessed it if I ever mentioned to her that we play video games at night, but it seems suspicious she would guess that was exactly the reason why I realized the account was fake.
Story 7. I found my old iPod, and realized it was filled with photos of my ex's clothless body from 14 years ago, but my current girlfriend is mad at me for deleting the photos instead of showing them to her. Well, to cut straight to the point, my current girlfriend, 28 feet, is upset with me, 34 meters, because I deleted old naked photos from an ex-girlfriend, from 14 years ago, without letting her see them. While cleaning out my closet, I recently found my old iPod Touch from 2010. I absolutely loved it back then, and stumbling upon it after all these years felt like finding a time capsule. We excitedly hooked it up to see what 2010 to 2013 me was up to. We had a great time laughing at the tall tees, mall bought an extremely fake bling, oh god, help me, and fitted caps I wore back then. While going through the pictures together, we stumbled across some naked photos from an old relationship I had forgotten were on there. Trying not to make a big deal of it, I said, oh crap, turned the iPod away from her, and deleted the pictures. I thought she would understand, but I was wrong. First, she playfully asked to see them, and I told her no. She knows that's not appropriate, and things quickly went south from there. She started accusing me of hiding things, saying she just wanted to see what my ex looked like and that it was no big deal, and eventually started crying. I told her the pictures were from 14 years ago, and if I showed her my ex's naughty photos, what's to stop her from thinking I wouldn't show her nudes to someone else if they complained enough? Now she accuses me of calling her a female dog, belittling her, and already thinking of the next woman. Things are seriously snowballing, and I've never seen this weirdly jealous and nosy side of her before. We've been together for about 6 months but have been on again, off again friends with bits for about 2 years. She knows I do not have patience for silly, childish stuff like this, so I kicked her out of my apartment. She calls me awful things and says she's going to have to think about our relationship. I told her if she wants to break up over some nonsense like this, then we shouldn't have gotten together in the first place. I know I was right for not showing her the pictures, and her tears were a manipulation tactic, but I'm absolutely stumped as to why she would try so hard to see them. I figured maybe this sub could provide some insight into this utter madness. What do you guys think? Update. After not talking for a couple of days, she finally texted me asking why I haven't called or texted her. I told her the truth. I've been mad at her and trying to decide if I wanted to continue the relationship. The fact that we were having a good time 1 minute and then the next was pure madness reminded me of all the stuff I went through with my mother as a teen, and how I don't want to deal with that ever again. I had a very emotionally hurtful mom who would constantly cause fights over literally nothing, think DVDs, staple guns, tape measures, etc., then kick me out of the house to show me whose goddamn house this is. So I have an extremely low tolerance for people starting up and coming at me over petty nonsense. To top it all off, my mom has since passed away, so that's another layer of things. But I've never tried to make my issues anyone else's problem. I've told her about my mother before, so she knew all about this. She told me she didn't mean to make me feel that way, but my flat-out refusal to show her the pictures combined with me turning away from her when I was deleting the photos made her feel like I was hiding things and rejecting her. I immediately called bullcrap because I told her we were going to keep looking through the iPod. I was just deleting my ex's old naked photos, and she knows it. In the 2+ years we've known each other, I've never given her any reason whatsoever to doubt me or think I'm a liar. I eventually got tired of texting, so I tried to call her, and she rejected the call, telling me she's not ready to speak yet. I told her I'm done texting, so call me when she's ready to talk, and I quit replying. She started sending me angrier and angrier messages when I wouldn't reply back. F you. This is controlling. What the hell's wrong with texting? Go F your red-headed cow. My ex in the pictures was a redhead and has been out of my life for over a decade. She then sent a picture of an action figure that's been broken apart. I immediately knew who it was, Prison Mike. It was effing Prison Mike. He was innocent in all this. You see, much like myself and a lot of you, she loves The Office. So for her birthday this year, I hunted down a 3D printed Prison Mike 1/12 scale head and little mug, combined it with a Two-Face figure's body, and spent a week painting them both. I then printed out a backdrop of the conference room as well as pictures of the main cast, except Andy, I hate him, and made a diorama with standees of them in it for the Prison Mike figure. All combined, the thing took about 2 weeks to make, but it was fun, and when I gave it to her, she went nuts, hugging me, kissing me, calling me sweet, and saying it was one of the most thoughtful things someone's ever given her. And now she's apparently taken a hammer to it. I'm done. I don't know what the hell her problem is, and like Phil Collins, I don't care anymore. Property destruction, whether hers or mine, for any reason, especially revenge, is automatically game over for me. I'm shocked, annoyed, and confused, but still, thank you all for your interest and responses, and please pour one out for Prison Mike. He was truly developed a ball. Thanks everyone. Story 8.
My husband's sister died in a freak accident, but now my red flag husband is ridiculously accusing me of murder, and it's giving me the ick. My 30 feet husband, Lyle, 33 meters, had a sister, Lilith, 29 feet. We were all close and saw each other 2 to 3 times a month, along with their parents. Almost 6 months ago, Lilith fell down the stairs at their family home and died. It was a freak accident. There's a window on the half landing, and she hit her head on the sill. I was the last person to see her. I was there for less than 10 minutes, and she was in her pajamas making coffee. I didn't even stay for a drink, and I struggle with how such a brief and meaningless interaction could have been her last. She deserved so much more. My husband and I have only been married for a year, but we've been together for 4 and have known each other for 20 plus. When Lilith's parents found her, they called my husband straight away, and we rushed over. We faced the whole thing as a family. In the days after, Lyle started quizzing me. Exactly what we talked about, what she was wearing, where we were standing, etc. It progressed to saying I was providing conflicting information, on tiny details he was deliberately not understanding, and accusing me of withholding information because I couldn't tell him things like what pajamas she was wearing. This escalated quickly but lasted for less than a week, as I lost my cool and made it clear that I was done answering questions. He didn't bring it up again, and I wrote it off as a grief quirk. His behavior was generally that of a normal, grieving person. Last Friday, he outright accused me of murdering her in front of his parents. Out of the blue. We were all stunned. There was an inquest which recently concluded, and there was never any doubt the verdict would be accidental death. He said it was completely obvious, and he couldn't believe that no one else could see it. He claims I went through his phone and found his messages with Lilith. I have absolutely no idea what messages he's talking about. I have never looked at his phone, and then I went over to confront her and things got out of hand and I pushed her downstairs. By the end, he was shouting about going to the police and getting the inquest overturned and how I wasn't going to get away with it. Let me be clear, Lilith and I had a great relationship. We all did. I have no idea where this has come from, other than these messages I haven't seen, and even then, I don't think there's anything I could ever see on someone's phone that would drive me to murder. It's just ridiculous. He's been with his parents since this happened and will not talk to me at all. I've had some contact with his mom, but she's not being very communicative. The last I heard, she didn't know what messages he was referring to either. I'm still completely stunned, and I have no idea how to proceed. I made a commitment to be there for him always, and I understand that grief can manifest in strange ways, but part of me feels like my love for him died the second he called me a murderer, and I don't know how we could possibly work through this. I also really don't want to be thought of in this way, and I have no idea if he has said anything to people we know. I obviously haven't. A brain tumor or psychotic break has crossed my mind, and I suggested it to his mother, and she just said she'll talk to him. Other than the questions before, he hasn't been acting odd. Obviously, he's been grieving, but he seems sane and sensible other than this. I feel like I'm going mad. Does anyone have any advice at all? Update 1. I'm looking for some legal advice. Basically, I'm in a bizarre and complex situation with my husband. I have broken the law in England, and I feel I have no choice but to do so again for my safety. I don't know what type of solicitor I need or what the next steps should look like. My husband says I saw his messages with his sister and confronted her, and that he's going to have the coroner's decision overturned and have the police investigate. I haven't seen or heard from him since. Today is day 9. After I posted for advice, it spooked me, quite reasonably I think, but also led to me committing a crime and planning another. My husband's iCloud credentials were saved on an old iPad in his office, and I downloaded his backup last night. I have read all of his messages with his sister, and there is absolutely nothing like he describes. I understand this is illegal, and I'm concerned about the possible ramifications. I'm also waiting for a call back from a locksmith to change the locks on the home we own together, which I believe is also against the law. So this leads to my actual questions. I feel justified in what I've done for my safety, but is there a degree of pragmatism under the law for these issues because of the situation, or am I shooting myself in the foot? I'm resigned to the fact my relationship is over, but his parents don't seem to be taking this seriously, and they're icing me out. I believe this is a serious mental health issue that may put people, namely me, at risk. Can I do anything about this when all I have is the fact I'm being accused of murder? I feel he needs to be detained, and this should be investigated as a full-blown psychotic break. Sorry, this is all a bit mental. In addition, what type of solicitor do I need? My understanding is that a coroner's decision can't be appealed, is that correct? Are his accusations going to go anywhere? Can I protect myself from this or stop him from escalating to telling others? We live in our hometown, and everyone knows everyone. This could follow me forever, and it's either a lie or a delusion. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Update 2. Firstly, thank you to those who helped me get to my husband's iCloud backups through an old iPad. I wasn't expecting much from people online, but I got valuable practical advice, and I appreciate it. There were no crazy or even suspicious messages. I've searched for over 100 terms and scrolled back over years. I saw a side of them both I wasn't expecting, but nothing that explains the claim I murdered Lilith over their chats. Nothing to suggest he was cheating. Absolutely nothing to suggest incest. I repeat, no incest. No weird gaps where deleted conversations or a switch to another app would fit. Just siblings making plans, sending memes, and gossiping. They said unexpectedly horrible stuff about a few people, but not me. It was a sort of relief, but it raised more questions than it answered. I sought legal advice. Turns out my options are divorce him or sit down. I contacted my community mental health team, who said they'd reach out, but made it clear it wasn't urgent. I then called his mom and said that if I didn't hear from him by this weekend, I would get a solicitor and ask for a mental health assessment as part of the divorce. In response, he made a ridiculous post to Facebook, which neither of us have used in years, and everything blew up. I'm going to try to keep this succinct. On Friday night, he made a long accusation on Facebook, with new information. He said he'd been planning to leave me for months with his sister's support, and I found the messages, and murdered her. The coroner has reopened the case and the police are preparing to arrest me, and he needs to make sure people know before the trial stops him from talking about it. It was well written and seemed vaguely plausible. He messaged people links so it got some attention. We live in our hometown and have a large circle of friends because we've been here all our lives. People I haven't spoken to since school were reaching out to me asking WTF was going on. It was madness. In response, I posted the export of his entire conversation history with Lilith, also to Facebook, when I finally got back in. I linked to the chat along with a post explaining my side, and noting that I had changed my ex's iCloud and Apple passwords, and that if he wanted them back, he should comment on my post and update his own, admitting that he was lying. He eventually did. When I started getting messages about his post, I panicked, and changing his password seemed important to preserve everything because he'd know I had access. When I spoke to him the next morning, it's clear he's not having a mental episode at all but is claiming one because he's been caught in a big lie. As soon as he was outed, he called me, clearly drunk, begging and promising to explain everything if I deleted my post. I hung up and told him to call back the next day. He did, after many missed calls and texts, and he tried to bargain and guilt-trip me with his mental health until it was clear the wrong people had seen his conversation. It's hard to describe, but it seemed fake. It was too well rehearsed, and then this morning, when it was clear he was getting nowhere, he blocked me. Begging for mercy and reciting facts about mental disorders doesn't align with someone in crisis with a sincere belief that someone murdered their sibling. The question of why he did all this remains unanswered, and he will not be getting his passwords until it is. The legal advice said this stuff is technically illegal, but it's beneath a court to take action, so I'm going to count on that because I felt like I had no other choice at the time, and now I don't see any other way to get answers from him. I am desperate, and it's all I've got. So there we are. The relationship I have believed was my destiny since I was a teenager has boiled down to petty, convoluted, and vindictive bullcrap, played out on social media, for reasons still unknown. A huge red flag and one big ick. My hope for a brain tumor is fading, and clearly tomorrow morning is going to be when I lawyer up and stop posting about this. I am mortified. I have no idea whether some people might believe him, and I still don't know why this all happened in the first place. Sorry I don't have a happier update, and thanks once again to everyone who offered advice. Update 3. Hi everyone. For the past few weeks, I've been trying to figure out why my husband suddenly accused me of murdering his sister, who died in an accident at home, 6 months ago. It still feels as ridiculous now as it did then. When Lilith died, we found out she had about £3,000 in hidden debt. It was odd because she was pretty open about her finances, but it wasn't out of character for her to overspend, so I hadn't really thought about it since. A comment on my last post prompted me to look more closely at money stuff, and a message to my husband from Lilith asking about a payment stuck out. I'd initially assumed it was about a car issue she'd had a few weeks before she died, but Lyle definitely paid at the garage when they picked it up because we talked about it after she dropped him home. It didn't occur to me when I first looked through. The messages supposedly proved I was a murderer, so I had been looking for something scandalous. The message about payment was the only thing I had at that point, and I had no idea what it meant, so I took a chance. I told his mother I knew about the money, and that if he didn't get in touch with me that day, I would make sure everybody else did too. He called me straight away and asked me over to his parents' house to talk. He looked dreadful, and the first thing he asked me was whether I was happy now all of his friends hate him. I told him I don't give a damn about his relationships and that I was there for answers. It turns out my husband told the coroner's office that he was secretly helping Lilith pay some of her debt because she was embarrassed and struggling to keep up with her lifestyle. I assume it didn't seem suspicious because her death was clearly an accident, and that's what they were investigating. In reality, he took out loans and store cards in her name, and she somehow found out a few weeks before she died. Some guy he works with had apparently done it before and arranged it all, and if Lilith hadn't found out, he claims they could have had it written off without her ever knowing. When she did find out, the guy left him high and dry, Kel surprise, and he had to pay it off. I'm inclined to believe that's the gist of what happened, but I am shocked my husband would do something this stupid. When she died so soon after, his brief and apparently genuine suspicion was that she had told me about it that day, and we argued and I'd killed her. He couldn't explain why I would kill someone because they were a victim of fraud, but according to him, he felt guilty in the immediate aftermath, and his brain made it fit. I mostly believe this, but he tried launching into more weaponized therapy speak at that point, so I cut the topic off. A few months after his sister's death, Lyle received a letter from a credit company, not even the police, saying he was being investigated. Lilith didn't have much, so her debts, which were less than £10,000 even with the fraud, were mostly written off. Something obviously flagged against my husband during that process, I don't know how or why. When the letters got more threatening, he believed the investigation would reopen the inquest, and that he would be accused of fraud, perjury, and because of his previously unknown motive, possibly murder. He claims the only thing the company investigating him actually knows is that the fraud came from our address, so accusing me would make it impossible to prove because it would be a coin toss, his words, as to which one of us took out the credit in Lilith's name. That was worth our entire marriage to him, and my reputation in the community we have been part of for our entire lives. He says self-preservation kicked in and nothing else mattered when he thought about what could happen to him. When I asked him how his witness statement fits into his plan, because it proved he lied either way by acknowledging he knew about the debt and paying it, he froze for roughly 1,000,000 years before saying he hadn't thought of that. Obviously, my response was to ask why, if he hadn't thought of it. He specifically said it was a lie he needed to cover earlier in the conversation. Suddenly he's sobbing and his parents are rushing in to ask me to leave. I was in tears at this point, asking how the F he could do this to me over something so stupid, and how much his parents knew about this, as his mom was pushing me out of their house. All she said was that she couldn't have this conversation with me. She was crying too but wouldn't say another word. I am now 99% sure the dummy was trying to frame me. Not for her death, but for the fraud. He was going to claim that he was lying for me in the coroner's interview, right? If he wrapped it all up as quietly paying her off on my behalf than genuinely suspecting me of her murder, it would protect his reputation and point the finger at me. It just doesn't make sense any other way. Is my husband trying to frame me to weasel out of his actions, and how do I get to the bottom of this? I'm obviously open to theories because Reddit is the only reason I got this far in the first place. That being said, please don't come up with conspiracies about Lilith's death in the comments. It's upsetting. She was wearing crappy old slippers and walking upstairs with a cup of tea, and she slipped and hit her head on a windowsill. This was never a murder mystery, it was someone's life, and she died just because. Maybe a butterfly flapped its wings somewhere, I don't know, but it's hard enough to accept without having guesses shouted at me on the internet whilst my marriage falls apart.
Story 9.
My girlfriend had been hiding her phone for weeks, so I assumed she was cheating on me with our best friend, but I was so damn wrong and have ruined their secret plan. I, 34 feet, wasn't looking for love when I met Sunny, 34 feet, and I half expected it to fizzle out when we first started dating. To be clear, she's just out of my league. She's bubbly, outgoing, sweet, and popular, while I work from home and have one true friend, Bev, 35 feet. We started talking about moving in together and I was all on board. I currently live with Bev, but she is thinking about moving in with her boyfriend when our lease is up in November anyway, so the plan was for Sunny to move in with me after. Recently, it's been a lot. My dad was diagnosed with cancer in January, and then my mom called to tell me that my grandfather passed suddenly from a heart attack in February. In March, my sister was in a horrible car accident. Things finally started to be somewhat calm since April, but then Sunny went from very supportive and super sweet to quieter. She put a screen lock on her phone, and in the past month, she stopped leaving her laptop logged in. Her tablet now has a password, and she's been taking longer phone calls in her car or going out with friends longer. She's also just not been that affectionate. She's been intense, asking me 1,000 questions, like recently she's been weirdly asking me if I haven't introduced her to all my friends, and if there are friends she might not know about. I went out with friends one night, and when I got home, she asked me with whom and then didn't know the names and asked why I never introduced her. I tend to be laid back and I don't generally need to know where she is or who she is with all the time, and she used to be the same. But this behavior made me wonder what might be going on. Then this past week, I noticed she and one of my friends, Jason, 40 meters, had been hanging out more. His name would pop up on her notifications while we were together, and she would turn the phone over or leave the room with her phone. Last night we were drinking and watching Netflix and she went to the bathroom and put her phone down but didn't lock it. I saw Jason's name pop up and I opened the messages. A lot of the conversations were deleted, but he had messaged her, "Hey, Ali is acting weird." Does she know? My heart sank. I just tried to focus on staying calm, knowing we both were drunk by this point. When she came back, she saw me with her phone and asked, "What are you doing?" All alarmed. I handed the phone to her and asked if there was something she wanted to tell me and she just stared at me. So I made a bluff and said, "Hey, I know about you and Jason, so do you want to tell me?" She sat down and just asked if I went through her phone. I asked her why it would bother her if she had nothing to hide. She asked me if I asked Jason, and I just asked if they are having some sort of affair. She got really still and just quietly asked if that's what I thought. I explained everything I outlined here. I said that I've been cheated on by my ex-boyfriend and she's acting just like he was when I was starting to figure it out. Sunny offered for me to look through her phone, but I said I know she deleted the conversation. When she asked what she could do to prove she's not cheating, I really didn't have an answer. We sat there in silence for a while, and I just got up and went to bed. Sunny didn't come to bed, and when I got up this morning, it was clear she slept on the couch, but she also wasn't there. I figured she went home, so I messaged her, but she hasn't responded. Am I in the wrong for accusing her? She's acting so odd and this doesn't make sense. She knows cheating is a deal breaker for me. I've messaged Jason, but he hasn't responded either, and I am starting to question everything. What do I do? Update 1. I managed to schedule a late session with my therapist. I am in regular therapy due to past issues, and came up with some language and talking points. When I got home, I also strategized with my roommate Bev. Bev said I shouldn't jump to conclusions and was behaving like Sunny is my scumbag ex and that it isn't fair. I told her I am planning to give Sunny a chance to clear everything up. I called Sunny, but she didn't answer, which Bev did bring up she could be working. She works odd hours as she works in the arts, and we usually have a Google Calendar to keep up with each other's work hours and the like. I looked it up, and she was scheduled to be working, so I sent her a text. The text essentially outlined what I said in my first post, that her behavior is not exactly above board, and the secretive nature of it lends to my questions, specifically Jason's text that I saw and the deleted conversations. I said that if she's with Jason, then be with him, but don't jerk me around, it's cruel and manipulative. 2 things I would never expect her to be. I said I was well on my way to thinking I loved her and this has broken my heart. The fact that she was not there when I woke up spoke volumes. I expect an explanation by the end of the day, or I will simply put the few items she left at my place in a box at the front door for her to pick up and take to Jason's. I then texted Jason, and I admit this was not the plan. I was emotional and frustrated because Sunny saw my message, and I could see her typing but then stopping and typing and stopping. I just wanted her to either explain herself or confess. So I texted Jason a similar message, explaining that I thought our friendship would be stronger than this. Just because my girlfriend is bi, he had to take advantage? It wasn't fair of him, as he knows my history with being cheated on and he knows how deeply it hurt me. I expected more from him, and I intend to not sugarcoat it when our friends ask what happened to us. Well, Jason actually responded by suggesting we have brunch today. I woke up anxious about it. I would prefer her to just confess over text, but now I have to deal with it face to face. But I want to know what the heck they were thinking and why, so here I am, a full 30 minutes early, sitting in my car waiting for the shop to open. I really don't know what to expect, and I haven't really had a chance to cry it all out yet. I have my job, and at home, Bev keeps saying I am overreacting and need to calm down, and it's just irritating. I've had no quiet place to think, cry, and just let it all out yet. I guess I will after brunch. Fingers crossed it will be brief and I can start moving on. Update 2. I'm a total goober. After my last post, I got out of my car and walked around for a moment to think and calm down. I took a suggestion from the comments and downloaded a voice recorder app on my phone and started recording before I got back to the shop. I walked in, and Jason was there. With Sunny. As soon as I saw them sitting together, I knew my relationship was over. So I said as much when I approached. I just said, "Oh, so we're over then," and Sunny stood up, and started saying she could explain and that I didn't understand. I just laughed and mentioned that I did ask before what was happening and she didn't seem to want to explain, and that said enough. I rehashed everything, the locked devices, passwords, the shifty behavior, the deleted texts. She can't look me in the eye and tell me she's that silly or thinks I am. Sunny just shrunk at that and didn't look me in the eye. That's what I thought, I was saying and looked at Jason, but he just stared at me. He was calm and just asked me to please sit down, so I did and put my phone and keys on the table in front of me as if ready to leave at any moment. Jason said that he didn't reply to my text right away because Sunny had called hysterical and hungover, saying I thought she was cheating, so he and Bev went over to Sunny's to calm her down and talk it out. He wanted Sunny to explain it, but she was too nervous after I had basically said she was just like my cheating ex. She figured I wouldn't believe a word she had to say. Apparently, this was all a misunderstanding. I've had such a rough year that Sunny went to Jason, Bev, and a few other friends with the idea of making a huge deal of my 35th birthday in August, as I have complained of never really having a party for my birthday I didn't somewhat plan through. So she's been spending months planning this out. She rented out a local bar for the night of, invited my friends, and swore them all to secrecy, ordered my favorite food for catering, decorations, and the works. She said she started getting nervous the surprise would be ruined because we are always casually on each other's devices, so a friend suggested she delete the convos. She even showed me in the group chat she had with my friends with a timestamp of a few months back where that suggestion came from. They showed me the receipts for the rental for the bar, the pre-ordered catering, a photo booth, etc. She said she uses Messenger, so she had to lock all her devices Messenger was on so I wouldn't accidentally stumble on the surprise. She was asking about friends she hadn't met so she could include them and invite them to my party. She said she wanted it to be big, like almost an event. That she'd been stressing about money so she could earn enough extra to afford it. I asked her why she'd been so distant then and not very affectionate, and she looked confused and said she noted I was usually not in a great mood and didn't seem to want her to touch me a lot, so she was giving me space, and she figured after the party, where she then showed me the reservations of my surprise weekend in a vacation town not far from where we live, we would have time on the surprise vacation weekend to reconnect and reset. Jason then handed over his phone to show me the conversations that were deleted off Sunny's phone, and I looked them all over, taking my time to read everything. They all had to do with the party. He offered for me to scroll back as far as I liked, as he had nothing deleted and nothing to hide, and I did scroll a lot. All the way to their first text. The Doshino text was about the party, he said, because I seemed tense around him and he felt I was being cagey when he and I texted, which was around the time I suspected him to be sleeping with my girlfriend. At this point, I could see Sunny was holding back tears, and she handed me her phone and again offered for me to look through every app if I wanted, but I said no. I didn't really know what to say from there because I frankly figured they were both there to confess to the affair. I rolled over everything in my head and just sat there silently. After a short while, when our food arrived, Jason asked if I had any questions, and I said no. He asked me if I still thought there was an affair, and I shook my head. My whole face felt hot, and I just wanted to leave. He then asked me that since the cat was out of the bag about the party, if I wanted to be involved in the rest of the last-minute planning, and I said no. Sunny started apologizing, saying she never thought I would think she was cheating. That she froze when I accused her because she was drunk and shocked. It had hurt her deeply that I really believed that, and she didn't know how to maintain secrecy of the party and keep me from breaking up with her, thinking she was shagging my friend. She said that she had never planned a surprise before and didn't want to ruin it. She asked me what I wanted to do or where we stood now, and I just stared at them, frozen. I just shrugged and didn't really look them in the eye, and we ate in relative silence. I paid our whole tab and left quickly while Sunny was in the bathroom. Jason asked if I wanted to wait until Sunny got back, but I didn't even answer and just rushed to my car and cried. I know I'm a coward and a goober. I have no idea how I am even going to face any of my friends because I saw in the group chat Sunny explain that I thought there was an affair and what she should tell me to not ruin the surprise. My friends mostly suggested she just tell me the truth, noting my past relationship and how broken I was after. It felt weird to see how they viewed me and how right they were, and now I just feel like a doofus. I texted Sunny that we should probably talk one-on-one when we calm down, and she replied that she really needs to take some time to breathe now that everything is out in the open. I said I understood and asked how long she needed and if we can maybe talk tomorrow, and she hasn't responded. Jason has since forwarded me some of the proof they showed me at brunch and just said, "Here if you need to talk and nothing more." I know I need to apologize, but I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know how to fix this now, or how to make it up to Sunny or Jason. I can hear Bev moving around downstairs, and I can't even face her. I'm still mad at her for not telling me the truth, but I know how unfair I am being. What in the world do I even do now? Update 3. Well, curse me for a pickle, I didn't expect this many notifications on my post when I logged back in. I read through the comments and realized in my fear of being too long-winded I skipped over some important context. Also, any and all comments that are just insults against my girlfriend, best friend, or myself, congrats, I didn't read them and I sure as heck ain't wasting my time replying to them. Does that actually work for you normally, Lamau? Anyway, context. I wasn't in the she's definitely cheating mindset for weeks like some comments suggested. It was all over the course of 2-ish days, 3 tops. Before that, I was just confused by her behavior and didn't really know what the heck was going on. No one left me to wallow like that for weeks on end. I was vocal for a short time before the brunch. Everyone was operating off of a comment I made when Bev's boyfriend threw her a big surprise party last year, and I made an offhand comment about how cool that was because I always plan my own stuff, and it would be awesome to have a surprise party planned by my friends or partner. Bev is my BFF, and there is nothing romantic between us before this or after this. She's engaged to my brother, and both of them are about as straight as a designated sock drawer. I'm set to be their maid of honor in the wedding. Anyone thinking she wants in my pants really needs to touch grass. This isn't bad anime. I do refer to Bev as my only friend because we've been childhood buddies, and I realize that confused people. I do have other friends that I'm just not very close to at all. Most of them are Bev or Jason or my brother's friends, and I am in the friend group. So I am now referring to Bev as my BFF and the others as friends to avoid the confusion. Some of the others did pressure Bev to be subtle and not ruin the surprise, and there's more below I actually found out this morning. I am not a man. I am a lesbian. Indeed, my ex-boyfriend turned me gay. Lamau, kidding, I've always been gay but didn't know until after my ex. Sunny is bi for those who are confused. Jason is also not trying to get me. He is married to Bev's sister. I don't mention her because she frankly hates Sunny, and I don't tolerate people disrespecting my girl, so she now also hates me. Jason just usually keeps us all pretty separate, though we are cordial when in each other's presence now. Sunny is not the hurtful cheating ex, those are different people. He was a malicious unfaithful toad. Yes, I'm already in therapy. I had a depressive episode earlier this year, and thus I can call emergency sessions with one of the 3 therapists I've been seeing since then. Without getting too much into my issues, if you're struggling, go to therapy if at all accessible where you live. It might be more accessible than you think, as the program I use was free while I didn't have insurance at first. I think that's most of the misconceptions I've read. Anyway, thanks to everyone with actual advice, I have an update for you. And a special make love to a rusty spoon to anyone who spends their time trolling posts just to be mean for no clear reason or being a homophobic piece of camel poo. You can leave, lol. I'm in a jolly mood this morning because a lot has been cleared up. I spent most of last night on FaceTime and text trying to suss out what to do and what everyone was feeling. Turns out the friend group was as split as you guy online on whether or not I suck. Bev helped clear a lot up by giving me her tablet and showing me the conversations she had outside the group chat. Turns out there were 3 friends that really pushed for this, and out of these gorgons, the ringleader is Tammy, who is also a bridesmaid of Bev's and has been trouble ever since she's been asked. I won't bore you with the whole story, but she's one of those pushy people in a wedding party that wants to make it about them. Bev, and Sunny too, I found out, was getting messages calling her a buzzkill, wet blanket, and way worse mostly from those 3. They advised her to be subtle in talking me down to not ruin this for everyone. My brother is pissed at me and blames me for Bev being bullied and tells me she was so stressed out she was vomiting and would spend hours at his place stressing out about what to do. I also found out that Sunny planned to propose at the party, which was a huge reason everyone wanted to keep it under wraps. A few friends, including Jason and Bev, wanted to simply be unspecific but say there is a surprise and they can't tell me what it is yet. One of the Gorgons told Sunny that she may as well cancel the proposal then because if I see it coming, it will be so wholly disappointing that I won't enjoy any of it, as the whole point was to fulfill my dream of having a surprise party planned by my sig other. As far as I am concerned, everyone's judgment, mine included, was messed up here. Most everyone, even one of the Gorgons, has apologized once they got the full story of what happened. Bev has been nothing but apologies and has been doing everything she can to make it up to me. Jason apologized in the way that Jason usually does, "I'm sorry you felt this way." I've since apologized to the people I felt I should, Sunny, Bev, my brother, and Jason. I jumped to a conclusion, and instead of gathering evidence and being sure, I went to accusations. I came up with a whole situation in my head that Jason and Sunny were having an affair, which looking back is the silliest conclusion to jump to, but I was drunk and emotional, not an excuse, so my judgment was way off. You don't know those two, but they wouldn't mesh well. As for Sunny, we talked late last night/early this morning. I got to apologize also for running out on her and explain how I was feeling. She apologized for everything and putting a proposal as a concept over my actual happiness. We've decided that we're not ready for engagements or anything like that, but we are good together and just need to learn to communicate better. She and I are going to have therapy together and try to get the tools needed to do that. The only person I'm on the outs with is Jason's wife and the lead Gorgon, and that's okay with me right now. My brother and I still have some mending to do, and I don't know what to do about that, but for now, I am focusing on what I can do. We think the party is still happening as there are elements I don't know about and can act as the surprise, but the guest list has changed given the situation. I am very much looking forward to the vacay with my bae after. I think that's it, so this is my final update. Thanks everyone.
Story 10.
My parents dropped a restraining order on my golden retriever husband, despite all the things he's done for them, so in return I'm never speaking to them again. I, 33 feet, have been married to my husband, 32 meters, for a few months, but we've been together for 6 years. My parents asked us to move into their home 2 years ago to help them out since my dad is medically disabled. We agreed because this would allow us to save up for a house. When I was 19, my father had a brain tumor, and at the same time, his mother was in the hospital, and it wasn't good. My mom spent all her time at the hospital with my grandma, so I decided to take 2 years off from college and put in a leave of absence from my job until my dad was better so I could take care of him and my younger brother. Fast forward, I met my now husband at work, and we hit it off. From the beginning, he took it upon himself to take my father to appointments and fix things around the house for them. When we moved in, my husband fixed the house for my parents every day after working 10 hours a day. Anything they asked of him, he did. He fixed the dryer 6 times, repaired the HVAC system. He is not an HVAC, he took his personal time to learn the basics so our heat would work, and anything else they needed. So now we have been married for a few months and have been looking for a home. My mother has been rude and passive-aggressive with him ever since we got married. Some backstory on my childhood: I was emotionally hurt by my mom and was taught to hate my father because he was always working. My mother always used to tell me that my dad had no time for me and to not bother him for anything. My mother once broke an easel over my head when I was 6 because I was playing Barbies with my friend. She wanted to play with my new one, and I told her she could play with any other one she wanted. My mother has always been toxic, but I was always gaslit by family and friends, and it was always my fault. My brother, on the other hand, had stolen thousands of dollars from my parents, became addicted to lines, and has threatened to punch my parents and myself multiple times. He's the golden child and can do no wrong. I have always resented my parents for this but was always made to believe that I was being stupid and it was my fault. My husband and I have put our own money into my parents' house to help fix it for them, with no request for payment back. My parents have been ungrateful for everything we, especially my husband, have done for them, but we kept doing it because we live there too. I was recently told by my therapist that in order to be healthy for myself and my husband, I would have to confront my parents about all the issues and trauma that I had been living with. So I did this, and all of a sudden, they claim my husband is brainwashing me. In their words, there was never an issue, so why am I speaking up now? I was explaining to them that my therapist wants me to work on being healthier with my family, and that is why I chose to speak to them. My husband and I received many gifts for our wedding, and both of my parents said to place them in a room no one uses. Just recently, they've been complaining about the gifts and told us to figure out storage. So yesterday, we bought a small shed from Sam's Club so we can place all of our things in it. This is what set my mother off. She said it was her house and we had no right to purchase it. When we tried to explain the reason for it, she started screaming at my husband, telling him he does nothing in the house and we just choose to do whatever we want because we are selfish. She also said she wanted us out of her house. I told her we had no place to go and that we needed time. She then charged my husband and went to smack him in the face. My father stopped her, and then they called the police. When the police came, they told us that they felt sorry for us because we hadn't done anything, but they decided to place a temporary restraining order on my husband and that they wanted me evaluated for brainwashing and Stockholm Syndrome. All of this over a freaking shit? The cops came a few hours later and said that I didn't have to leave but that temporarily he would have to. So we packed up our things and our dog and left for a hotel. I've been getting messages from family saying that I'm in the wrong and I'm an asshole because I put my parents through hell. I've decided for my own mental health that I need to cut off all toxic family members because my husband and I don't deserve this. What do you guys think? Edit. Hey all. I noticed my wording about the Stockholm Syndrome and brainwashing nonsense sounded like it came from the cops. I'm sorry. My parents were yelling and begging the police to evaluate me because I would never speak to them like this on my own. The police obviously didn't do anything of the sort and even told my parents that I was clearly speaking for myself and was under no duress. Update. Hello friends. For those of you who heard my first post, it's been 80 days since I posted it, and a lot has changed. My husband and I found a house and will be moving into our home at the end of August. I am currently low contact with my parents only because a lot of our things are in their house. I have already set up a day for the movers to come help me gather all of our belongings, and yes, my parents know we are taking our things. My parents were given no information other than we found a place of our own. My father has ignored me since the situation they caused and basically blames me for it, but then tells my mom out loud he's not mad at me when I'm there. My mother thinks all is well even though I tell her our relationship is the furthest from fine, but narcissistic parents will believe what they want. Once all of our things are out of the house, I'm cutting all contact with my parents and whoever else needs to go. My amazing husband and I, even through this difficult situation, have gotten stronger and are living a fairly peaceful life. Therapy has been wonderful, and all the wonderful things that are coming our way, we are welcoming with open arms. One thing I realized, other than my parents being narcissists, is that I really did go through a lot of trauma throughout my life, and my parents still think they're the best parents out there. There was a moment, in the beginning of all of this, where I thought I couldn't keep going. When I came out of that place and was strong again, I spoke with my parents about it since my mom kept telling me how much they care about me still. Their response to all of this, oh well that's not our fault and stuff happens. They're right. Crap does happen. And it's gonna hit them hard once I am out of their lives for good. Thanks for all the kind words and advice. I thought I'd share the ending with those, if anyone, who cared to know how we are doing. Relevant comments. May I suggest that you not tell your parents the date on which you will have the movers at their house? This is because they may decide last minute that you are still being brainwashed and either get rid of your belongings or hide them from you. Also, let the police know you will be there and why. You can do that either by calling the non-emergency number or making a quick stop at a police department before going to your parents. That way, if a conflict of any kind were to happen, the police would already know what your intent is. I'm so sorry you're going through all of this. Good luck. Thank you so much, and I will definitely be taking your advice.
Story 11.
I caught my guy best friend getting down on it with his new girlfriend in our living room, and now she's forcing him to kick me out of our apartment, so that she can move in. So, I, 21 feet, have been friends with Mike, 21 meters, for 16 years. We officially became friends in kindergarten, but our parents were college friends. He's more than a best friend, he's like a sibling, and in a way, we were raised as siblings. We had group family holidays, sleepovers, and family vacations on both sides. At one point, we even all lived together for a year. I'm saying this because I know some people will ask. No, there have been no crushes or feelings on either side, at all. We haven't kissed, confessed feelings, or had crushes. It's been strictly sibling-like, and I'm saying that now because of what Mike's girlfriend has been saying. Mike and I share an apartment near campus as we both attend college together. Around 7 months ago, Mike met his girlfriend April, 21 feet. I thought we got along okay. I've only met her a couple of times because she has anxiety, but I had no problem at all with her until recently, besides some minor things. Sometimes, she would interject when Mike would call me his sister. It wasn't always, but normally she would say, well, technically you aren't siblings, which is 100% true, but it's how we viewed each other since we were kids. Almost a month ago, my class got cancelled, so I came home early. I walked in and right on the couch were Mike and April having rumpy pump. I screamed, ran to my room, and frantically yelled at Mike via text. He apologized, Said he thought I would be gone longer, and I made him clean the couch. All good, right? No. April, for some reason, got upset and felt that, her words, I did that on purpose, despite it never happening before, and that it was inappropriate of me to walk in on them. Again, this was in the living room, which I found absolutely disgusting, but I moved on. It was embarrassing but nothing crazy. Anyway, Mike has been stressed recently because April has been asking him to distance himself from me. I thought she was just embarrassed, which I'd understand, so I tried being friendly and apologized. Well, last weekend, Mike sat me down and basically said that I had to move out because his girlfriend was upset with me living with him. I was floored. I got so upset, I don't think I've yelled and cried that much in my life. The gist is that he doesn't want me to move out, but he's pressured by his girlfriend and he really loves her, so he wants to make her happy. He thinks this shouldn't change our friendship, and that he's just putting some distance between us. See, if he had asked me to move out, I'd understand. Okay, yeah, maybe you want to take your relationship to the next level, fine. But it was a demand. And not only that, he wanted to put space between our friendship. It was so damn hurtful. I've known him for 16 years and that's it? I'm gone for someone he's known for 7 months? I said he was choosing a short relationship over his sister and that I don't want him to contact me if he's going to be like that. He said I was overreacting, but I called my parents and got them to pick me up. Thank God they don't live far away, but what if they did? What did he expect me to damn do? Just sleep outside or something? Anyway, I obviously had to tell my parents what was going on, given they had to pick me up and I was an emotional mess. I told them everything, which caused a bit of an argument when they went to pick up some of my things the next day. They called Mike's parents and kind of chewed them out a little, and from my understanding, they called Mike and did the same. Mike messaged me to say that he was upset I couldn't be civil and that he feels like I'm throwing away our friendship. I blocked him shortly after. I've taken some time off classes, but I'm so damn hurt and upset. It hurts that he could just throw me away so easily. I don't think I did anything wrong telling my parents, but I think it may have crossed a line when they phoned Mike's parents. Like I said previously, our parents are really close, and it's kind of messed with their friendship now. His parents have been really kind and apologetic, even though it's not their fault, and a part of me feels like I made this into a bigger mess. Sorry if it's a bit chaotic, I'm still a bit emotional. Also, I know I didn't have to leave. Mike and I both pay an equal amount of rent for the apartment, but I didn't want to stay in a place where I wasn't wanted. It would have just made it difficult, and worst case scenario, he'd leave, which would have put a financial strain on me. What do you guys think of the situation? Edit. I read you all loud and clear. Thank you for waking me up. I've talked to my landlord. She said that she was uncomfortable with April moving in because she doesn't know her. I understood, so I am moving back tomorrow. I unblocked Mike and informed him. I explained that until our landlord says otherwise, I'm staying. Either he can leave and get a new place and keep paying the rent, or we can end our agreement together, and if our landlord agrees, they can start one. He replied, okay, we can talk about it tomorrow, so, we'll see. Thank you all so much for getting me up and going. I really had no idea how serious this situation could be until you all let me know how stupid I was being. I don't care if it's uncomfortable, I'm not wasting my money. Relevant comments? Are you also on the lease? If so, contact the landlord to see if you can get off the lease and have the friend be solely responsible for rent. My parents said the same thing, I just haven't had the energy. I paid my last one this month, and from my understanding he wants April to move in, so I think it'll be switching. Although I haven't done it before, so I'm not sure. Then he can pay you out your part of the deposit or he can eat the cost of moving out himself. You don't have to move, you legally have a right to be there and this is just his problem. Tell him that. No, I totally get that. I know that I had no legal obligation to leave, and I had every right to stay. It was more so me being stubborn and not wanting to. At that point I had my friend telling me I had to leave and choosing someone else. I really didn't want to stay there. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but from my understanding April is moving in soon. So I'll contact the landlord to let them know and to take my name off. Question: if Mike wanted to go to Pound Town with April, why didn't he do it in her living room rather than yours? We have an apartment off campus while she lives in a dorm, so we have a lot more space and privacy. I know they get it on sometimes, but so bloody gross to do it in the living room. I paid for the couch too. Update. Thank you all for the amazing advice. I honestly can't believe how naive I was, and you all probably saved me a lot of trouble. So, on to the update. I came back to the apartment yesterday morning. I let Mike know beforehand and asked if April not be there so we could talk alone. Mike was quite emotional and apologetic, which surprised me a little. I found out a bit more information that makes a bit more sense now. Mike has been under a lot of pressure for a while now to drop me. He thought that me moving out and distancing himself would be enough to appease April while still keeping our friendship. Obviously, he didn't expect me to take it the way I did, although what other way would I take it? And he didn't expect me to leave that day. I mean, yeah, he didn't specifically say, pack your crap and leave now, but saying, you need to leave. And saying that he wanted distance over our 16-year relationship out of nowhere makes me feel like I couldn't have just gone to bed normally, you know? I've read everyone's comments so many times, I've drilled it into my head, so as much as it hurts, I'm keeping my distance from Mike at the moment. The fact that he never once told me about April wanting him to not talk to me, and he didn't even consider my circumstances before asking me to leave, where else could I go? It's not a definite end of our friendship, but I'm not feeling pretty positive. Anyway. He's apologized. He said that he missed me while I was gone and that he knew he messed up after he told me to leave, but that he just wanted to make April happy since he could see a future with her. April has lost her crap, to put it mildly, and she threw up a storm in the lobby of our apartment last night. Mike refused to let her in, which understandably made her lose her crap even more. Tons of colorful words thrown about on both ends. I'm a homewrecker, a cow and a female dog apparently, which is laughable. Anyway, she's not to be allowed into our apartment now, period, at least until he decides on their relationship. Mike has been pretty upset today. He wants space from April because he said that he wants to end the relationship. Very surprising, but I'm cautiously optimistic, since I'm not sure how willing he'll be. We've had a bit of a heart-to-heart. Regardless of how upset and hurt I am, he's my brother. I'm trying to be a cow like I wanted to when I moved back in, but it's so damn hard when he's all mopey and sad. I told him that if he continues seeing her, I'm putting some distance between us respectfully to avoid this happening again. He said he doesn't want that. I talked with my landlord before moving back. She didn't want April moving in as she doesn't know her. She was a bit upset that this situation was happening as she didn't want drama, which I understand. I've moved back and I've discussed the lease with Mike. We renew in September, or that was the plan, so now we're deciding on how to go ahead. I feel like it'll be best for me to get my own place. Maybe this was long overdue, to be honest, although Mike is saying that he wants us to continue being roommates next year, so we're discussing this at the moment. It's not really a super dramatic update, but at least the main issue has been solved. I'm not being kicked out or leaving until our lease is done. April isn't coming over for the foreseeable future. Only issue right now is my relationship with Mike. It's very awkward in the apartment. You can tell something's changed. He's been trying to be friendly like we were before all of this, and he's apologized a lot, which I appreciate. But I'm finding it a bit difficult to move on and go back to normal. I'm not being a cow or mean, just slightly distant. Things will get better, thankfully. Anyway, that's the end. I really want to thank you all again for making me realize how serious this could be. I honestly had no idea that you couldn't just switch who was renting, which is so embarrassing. Also, to that one woman in my DMs and comments spam messaging me, you're insane. I don't know who hurt you, but get a life, please. This isn't even that serious. Thanks everyone else.
Story 12.
My boyfriend accidentally cheated on me with a college friend, but we're going on vacation now, so I think I better forget it happened and forgive him. I, 30 feet, have been in a seemingly happy relationship for a little over 3 years. My boyfriend, 32 meters, is wonderful. We have lived together for about 2 years, rarely ever argue, we have so much in common, and honestly, he is my best friend. I love him and know that I want to marry this man. He flew to his hometown yesterday, I flew down this morning, and we are both catching a plane in the morning to go on vacation together for 6 days with 2 other friends of ours. Everything is paid for, and cancellations are not possible at this last minute. I've been in our hotel room bawling my eyes out and dry heaving for the past 2 hours. I Ubered from the airport, and when he came down to help me with my bags, I immediately knew something was wrong. He looked like hell and was visibly nervous. Once we got into the hotel room, he started tearing up and told me he had something to tell me, that he knows I'm going to leave him, but he can't keep a secret like this from me. He explained how he and a few of his childhood friends all went to a bar and he ran into a girl he went to college with. They never did anything in college but did go on a few dates almost 7 years ago. She invited him and a group of other people back to her house, where they all proceeded to get drunk and do booger sugar all night. I know about the occasional devil's dandruff use, and just catch up. Basically, he and the college friend ended up making love all night long, and then she drove him to our hotel early this morning. He hasn't talked to her since and swears that it means absolutely nothing. He said she's not even attractive and that it was an accident because he was just messed up. He says it was a big mistake and is begging for my forgiveness. A huge part of me wants to ask for every last detail, but I'm scared to know that there is potentially more to the story. I don't know. I want to forgive him and enjoy our time away, but I truly don't know how. Are there such occasions where you really can't help yourself and it really was a spur of the moment mistake? Or is there something hidden beneath the surface, and my happy relationship has been anything but this whole time? Someone please help. Update 1. After basically begging him, he told me the name of the girl, and I reached out to her. I called her and put her on speaker so we all three could talk. Unfortunately, I'm learning this situation was much worse than the story originally told, and I will be on a flight home in a few hours. This other girl is not unattractive. The smash was not protected. He and she had been flirty the entire 3 hours before they finally got to bed together. Hand-holding, sitting on his lap, making out a lot. He did a few things to her, and basically, they wrestled all night long, with various moves being done. Not like the high as frick unpleasant quickie I was told about. I feel like I want to roll over and disappear. Update 2. First, I would just like to say thank you to everyone who has commented or messaged me. I appreciate all the kind messages, words of advice, and even some of the harsher messages and comments. You guys have helped more than you could imagine. I flew home this morning, took a nap, packed some of my things, took our cat, and am staying with a friend for the 6 days he's away. He didn't want to go on the trip, but I insisted. I told him if he has ever loved me, to please give me the time and space I deserve. Unfortunately, our relationship is broken beyond repair. The reasoning behind why he cheated doesn't matter because the fact remains that he did. In all of our time together, I've never even considered or wondered about another man, and the first chance he got, he chose to have unsafe fun time with someone else. I believe that he loves me, quite possibly is sorry. However, I don't believe that he has any respect for me or our life together. I don't know that I'd ever forgive him or trust him again. No respect and no trust mean no relationship. We do have a shared life, so the ending of this relationship is not quite as easy as me packing and leaving and not looking back. We have shared accounts, both of our names on our lease, shared phone plans, and car insurance. Basically, the next few weeks are going to be rough. Relevant comments. Worst update ever. What did you shake anew? The details don't really matter, but I'm sure knowing the extent of his transgressions will only continue to confirm that you're doing the right thing by ending it. Whether the rumpy pump was safe or not, you need to get tested for infections. Even if you believe this is the first and only time he's done this, he may have before. You could have something and be asymptomatic. 3 years is a long time to have spent with someone. I'm sure your lives, friends, and families are fairly intertwined at this point. Do not allow yourself to be vilified in any way. The people you know and love should know exactly what he's done to be able to provide the support you need and deserve. Sorry he turned out to be such a piece of crap. You take care of yourself. Update 3. I have no idea if anyone cares about the outcome of this situation, but it is almost cathartic to say it online to you, so I'm doing it anyway. I finally have a calm moment to sit at my computer and talk some logical thoughts. Upon returning home, he and I had very little communication at my request. I had originally planned to spend the week at my friend's home to process this life-altering event, but early this afternoon, he texted me, telling me he was home. Some people might think that shows a lot of effort on his part, that he's remorseful and, rather than enjoy his vacation, he flew home to talk. Perhaps I would feel that way too, except I asked for space. I told him that if he had ever loved me, he would give me time alone. He couldn't even give me that. I agreed to meet with him at our apartment to talk. I only wanted to sort out all the details, our finances, home, etc. We agreed on paying to break our lease, staying on the insurance policy and phone plan together for now but unenrolling from auto-pay so we could make our payments separately. I also asked him to reimburse me for what I paid towards the vacation from hell. I wanted to wrap things up enough in that moment so I would have to see and speak to him as little as possible. I know that some communication in the future will be inevitable, but right now, I can't deal with it. I told him he could stay in our apartment and we had to leave. I packed more of my things and left. I don't know if he looked upset or if he was crying. I honestly barely heard anything he had to say because I was so enraged at the person in front of me, a complete stranger. I don't know if the past 3 years were all a lie. I don't know if he has cheated before or if he would cheat on me again. All I am sure of is that he was capable of lying and cheating now. I refuse to be another cautionary tale of a woman who loved someone more than herself and forgave a cheater, only to be cheated on again. There is a big difference between guilt and remorse. Update 4. I first want to say that I am doing okay. Even after what I am going to say in this post, I'm okay. I'm going to attempt to make this as brief as possible because I can't give this situation any more of my heart or energy. I'm all moved out of the apartment, with my things going into storage because I am still staying at my friend's home for the time being. This breakup has proved to be financially burdensome, but somehow money has managed to be the least stressful part of this ordeal. It turns out that I never knew the man I shared my life with for the past 3 years. My ex and I ended up having a conversation on the last day of us moving out. He seemed apologetic and sad and asked if we could talk. He said that he loves me, that he will always love me, and he wants us to stay together. He apologized and said he would stop bullcrapping, no more lies. I didn't feel the need to have a conversation, but I did have just one question. I asked him, why? I never could have imagined in a million years that he would tell me the reason he cheated was because I miscarried 6 months ago. Especially because of how supportive and loving he was during that period in our lives, I felt blindsided and betrayed. He said that he knows it was not my fault, that there was nothing I could have done differently, but it had caused him to resent me. He was angry. He said he knew how this sounded, which is why he never talked to me about it. He didn't want to hurt me, huh? Of course, at this point, I felt sick. My heart hurt in ways I never knew possible. Even the death of my father did not hurt in the ways his words and actions were hurting me. Here is this man that I have unconditionally loved and supported for over 3 years. I was his biggest cheerleader in life, encouraged him to be his own person, and to still live his own life. I wanted him to be happy. We never went to bed mad at each other, we never called each other names, and we never not kissed each other goodnight or goodbye in the morning. Our relationship seemed great, and yet he's telling me that for the last 6 months he has resented me, borderline hated me at times. He admitted to downloading Tinder and chatting with women over the last 6 months. He swore that it never became intimate until the night he cheated, and that was only because they had history. I have no clue if that is true. Honestly, I don't care whether or not it is. The cheating is minimal compared to the words he just spoke. We were both crying, and I handed him my keys for him to turn in. I gave him a hug and told him that he needs therapy and that I never want to speak to or see him again. I have a therapy appointment next week and will start to work on healing. I'm looking at potentially getting a loan so I can get out of anything left that we have shared. I also want to look into moving to a different city, but that is still up in the air. I have changed my phone number and blocked him everywhere. There was never a chance of him and me getting back together, and this just solidifies my decision. This will most likely be my last post on the subject, but I once again thank each and every one of you. Update 5. I thought my last update would really be the last, but a lot has happened in such a short amount of time, so I figured I could close this chapter with a neat little bow. First, I want to say thank you to each and every person that commented or messaged from my other post. The outpouring of love is more than I could ever have imagined receiving from strangers. I see so many posts on here with much worse stories, and I don't know what I did to deserve the love and support, but I am eternally grateful. Second and finally, my ex and I have not talked. There is absolutely no way for him to reach me directly, as I ended up moving in with a different friend for the time being, and he does not know about this. He still thinks I am at friend A's home and communicates with her if there is anything that needs to be said regarding business matters. She does not allow him to talk about anything personal, and if he does, she does not pass it along. We have 0 things connecting us at this point. In my last update, I talked about possibly moving cities, and well, that happened. I was offered a job I had been trying to get for quite some time, and the position finally opened up. I have been working from home for about a week, will work from home for another week, and then I move. Rhonda, my cat, is probably not going to be too thrilled, but we have a vet appointment for some kitty meds to hopefully ease the transition. She's top priority, always. I love my new job, I love my friends, and I love where my life is headed. I wish nothing bad for my ex, have no ill will towards him, and truly hope he can find peace in his life. Often, what we lose is nothing compared to what we gain. It's just about getting past our human ego and being able to see it. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for coming along on this journey with me. I wish you all happiness and love in your lives. Kiss kiss.